Hey, it's us again.
I'm back, baby.
Yeah, just God, been what, only about like a little over 2 months, something like that. Yeah,
Feels like longer. It's weird.
yeah. I don't know. Time's always been like just that.
Simultaneously too fast, and has it only been that long?
Yeah. Don't mind the blue screen. We're gonna actually turn that off very quickly for just a moment, because, as the title suggests and how much I've been hyping this up, we're back for another grab bag. I found that I've been especially enjoying like doing these kind of like playing a bunch of random games when I have like another friend to kind of like on board to reminisce about it with, because there's always like so much crazy shit that you can cover.
Yeah,
And
and
topic of today
especially
is uh well, technically it's, well, I guess it's either the oldest or second oldest system depending on how you define it. Oldest based on when it came out, and oldest based on like when it was the first time I had it. It's the N64. It's kind of a controversial, maybe to some, whether or not it's a person's favorite system, but it's definitely my second favorite. Sometimes first. It's tied between that and the PS2.
yeah, I know a lot of people who have fondness for PS1, PS2. Don't know many people who would list the N64 as their particular favorite though.
Yeah,
So
it's very
kind of an
specific.
unusual one.
And I feel it would definitely be for people like myself, where it was like they didn't have like the sort of like attachment or experience to like prior consoles, just
Mm,
to kind of like see like where like the market was going at that point. Because it's like, as someone with no context for the SNES and why people liked it, grown like at a very young age, it's like it didn't matter. N64 was fancy, like, I mean, oh my god, just like 3D graphics games running on my TV. It's
yeah,
like,
it's as someone who was around at that point, it's you really can't overstate how big of a quantum leap it was between the Super Nintendo and the N64.
mm-hmm.
It's night and day.
Yeah,
And I still say to this day, it's probably the biggest leap in terms of gaming power we've ever had. Everything else has just been we can have slightly nicer graphics, better sound, bigger games.
yeah,
Then it was we can have new types of games.
yeah,
We can literally do stuff we've never been able to do before,
yeah.
simply just by adding a third dimension.
The only other comparable leaps could be if you were going from like this particular generation with N64 and PS1 and going straight to the generation after with like Dreamcast, PS2, Xbox, and GameCube especially. But yeah, that
Mm,
was like, I think, yeah, because like that definitely felt like that was actually like the last biggest one. Because again, like I hadn't experienced other systems before the N64, so the first leap felt like the biggest one. Like, holy shit, these characters actually have fingers now.
yeah, it was literally like the difference between going from a text adventure to going to a point and click adventure, just
Mm-hmm.
in terms of holy crap, we can do things now.
Yeah. So we're playing some N64 today, and you're wondering, cool, just fire up the EverDrive. Let's go down the list. About that. Uh,
Haha.
I may be trying to downsize on like the collections I have for some other systems because like the markets for them are just fucked now. I've gone
Yeah,
too
how's
deep.
that going for you?
I've gone too deep into the N64 over the course of 20 plus years that I feel like I can't back down. So let me show you a picture I took demonstrating what my current collection is at now, which for context, for a good few years, it had been sitting at about 20 games. This past month, that 20 games got boosted by like a whole 45% thanks to some Japanese imports. Voila.
Haha.
Arranged in roughly about actual release order, because that's how I like to organize my games rather than
Hmm.
like alphabetical or genre or things like that. I find it more interesting for me if the organization of like the games I have is designed to give context for like what year they came out and what they represent in the life of the system.
Did Pilotwings come out that late? I thought it was like a launch title.
Oh no, it is. No, it's weird how it works out because I Just like it basically goes up is the idea.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it's right next to Mario 64 because that was the launch title. So going
Yeah.
up and then to right afterwards, you got Wave Race 64, Mario Kart
Hmm.
64, Star Fox 64, Blast Corps 64. No, they didn't have 64 in it. Also, that's the Japanese version if you look closely, which means it's called Blast Dozer.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, this is where you start to see like definitely like the number of Japanese cartridges mixed into the English ones because a good portion of those Japanese ones were from my recent purchases.
Hmm.
Obviously, we got the first of the Treasure N64 Holy Trinity, Mischief Makers,
Naturally.
GoldenEye 007,
Hmm.
Diddy Kong Racing, the superior kart racer compared to Mario Kart 64. I can say that confidently.
Controversial statements in this chat.
Whatever, we're at least talking about that in the context of N64 kart racers. If it was kart racers in general, I'm pretty sure people that are fans of later Mario Karts would have like more ground to stand on because those games did make improvements, admittedly. I still don't like to play them these days, but whatever.
Mm.
1080 Snowboarding, the game that is tied with Amped 3 for probably like the only snowboarding games I really enjoy. And even then, I like Amped 3 not really for the snowboarding. I like it for all the weird bullshit surrounding it.
Yeah, it's a mediocre game, but an interesting package.
Yeah, it's the best launch title for the Xbox 360 you could have wanted. Yep, you did spot Jet Force Gemini up there. Yeah, we're getting close to it, but like all the other games we got, Mystical Ninja starring Goemon, especially glad I still have that copy because I don't even want to look at eBay prices for it now.
Oh no, it's worth the cost of a small house these days.
Yeah. F-Zero X, the Japanese version, because not only is it cheaper, but at least like 10 years ago, I had the foolish notion that maybe, just maybe, I would be able to find a Nintendo 64 DD and not have to lose an entire arm and leg for it. And it's like,
Uh,
no. If I want to play the 64 DD like expansion kit content, I can just run that through an emulator. Like that's doable now.
yeah,
Yeah. Ocarina of Time, as you would.
of course.
Super Smash Brothers, the original, pre-Melee, back when there was as little like concepts or notions beforehand that this could be taken seriously as a fighter because haha, whatever. I know
I
Smash
still don't
players are
take it
gonna
seriously as a fighter.
I'm gonna keep running with that to my grave and like it'll just to rile up as many people as I can.
It's a party game.
Exactly. I'm sticking to it.
Come at me, bro.
We got Excitebike 64, which is definitely an interesting one because it's like, yeah, you just took Excitebike, you made it like a 3D like like motorbike racing game. It works.
Yeah, it's one I never hear people talk about.
Yeah, it's like you would think it would be brought up more along with Wave Race and 1080 as part of like I guess like the extreme sports racing trinity for the system, but most people don't. Probably because Wave Race and 1080 were still made like exclusively internally at Nintendo in Japan, whereas Excitebike was I think they got like an external developer for that.
Yeah, I mean, I hear people talk about Wave Race and 1080, but Excite Bike and Excite Truck, like no one ever talks about. That's
Oh
so
man,
weird.
I definitely got a bit of a soft spot for Excite Truck, but like the real shit is Excite Bots because that was a
Oh,
very silly game.
okay, I've not heard of that one.
Yeah, that'll probably have to be later, maybe for I don't know, a future Wii grab bag or something, because I think we've made a good habit of like having us around for this stuff.
Hmm.
Got Mario Golf, which in Japan they put 64 at the end of it for whatever reason. Like the US
Which is
version
weird
didn't.
because I always saw that as more of a Western trait, adding the 64 to everything.
Yeah, but then again, I guess it's just because like all the other earlier games did have 64 at the end of it. Yeah, totally check it out, Cyborg. It's like basically like take what was what the core of Excite Truck was on the Wii, but replace the monster trucks with like robot vehicles that are like animal themed, and there's all kinds of very like silly like gimmicks and stuff that are still like based on like the sort of terrain shifting aspects of Excite Truck by the same developers and everything. So of course they would iterate on that and just give it like an absurd, super video gamey sense of style.
Yeah.
Above that, we got Pokemon Snap, which
Of
was
course.
which I can as give us a fun fact. As far as like what the first video game I ever owned was, it was that along with Yoshi's Story. So that was like, yeah, just that was one of the two games that I played a lot of when I first got my N64 back in '99. Above that, we got Hybrid Heaven, which is not the best Konami game for the N64, but it's definitely one of the most interesting ones.
I've always kind of seen it as the N64 answer slash version of Vagrant Story.
Yeah, even though like
But with hand-to-hand combat rather than sword building.
yeah, and also kind of came out a year beforehand, but they both had the same idea of like that particular blend of like real-time positioning and movement with turn-based combat into like a weird hybrid MMA wrestling game where you just wrestle and beat the shit out of enemies that look like the monsters of the week on a tokusatsu show.
Yeah. You're kicking the ass of the Putty Patrol.
Yep. And then the game right above that, because I feel I still need to emphasize it every time I bring it up. Yes, I was not lying. That was Bangayo. I paid $180 for it. You're welcome.
You, sir, are a madman.
Yes. above that, the two games that are the dynamic duo of Rareware at its worst. Jet Force Gemini and more infamously Donkey Kong 64.
I don't know if they're at their worst, but it was definitely Rare at their paddingest.
Yeah, it was definitely them going off the deep end on a particular angle because of how all their other games before like were focused on we're putting these things on cartridges. These cost a lot more to print than a CD. We got to make sure like players are getting their money's worth. And they felt more justified in a lot of the earlier games right up until those two. Because Jet Force is the game everyone remembers as requiring 100% completion to get the main ending, which is insane. Even as a completionist, I was like, that is bullshit and unfair to everyone else. And then DK64, we all know the story.
A game so good they made you play through it 5 times.
Also, the DK rap is kind of fun.
Well.
Yeah. Custom Robo, which is a Japanese-only game, and I can confidently say that of all like the games for the N64 that have gone up in price, I feel like both Custom Robos for the N64 have managed to stay as consistently low in price, despite just the spikes in like in retro game prices elsewhere. Because even though it's like Japan only, you would think that would add a certain rarity to it. But I think just based on the prices, they must have printed like a bajillion copies. That's the only explanation I can think of for why it's so easy to find listings for them and for so cheap.
Remember the GameCube Custom Robo game? Custom Robo Ace, was it?
Revolution, something like that.
Yeah, it's a Custom Robo subtitle. That had a weird thing in Europe where it was quite rare for a long time. And then suddenly, I don't know, someone must have found an entire warehouse stocked with them because the price suddenly went through the floor.
Oh, wow, yeah. Draken also bringing up a good point about Jet Force Gemini. Yeah, because, trying to, like, control it as a third-person shooter on this is a nightmare. And only from what I was able to glean with the Rare Replay version, because that is, like, one of the most insane archival collections ever put out from any company, like, they tried to improve the controls, but it only got so far.
You can only polish a turd so much before it starts to wear away.
And on to the final column, Perfect Dark, my favorite of the two Rare first-person shooters. In fact, of the style that I will say also encompasses the Time Splitter series, because a lot of the same people went on to Free Radical. I think that's still my favorite of that particular style of FPS. Granted,
Definitely, I'd say.
yeah. It's probably
I was gonna
not
say,
my favorite version of the game to play, though, because it's the N64, but content-wise and, like, design is pretty amazing. But,
I'm
yeah.
gonna say of the two, it's definitely the one that still holds up.
Hmm.
GoldenEye, I tried playing it again, just purely, out of nostalgia, and I was like, how did people enjoy this back in the day? The controls are horrible. And that was when I got kicked off the stream.
Yeah. I mean, like, aiming was not nearly as weird in PD and GoldenEye compared to Jet Force Gemini, because it's like they had an entire game to design around like that kind of aiming, and I think it works. Like, if, in my mind, I think there are reasons for why I'd say that type of aiming works better than the kind of modern console gamepad style of aiming we've had since Halo onwards. But I think I'll save that for when I get to either of those two games, just to kind of demonstrate. But the
Yeah.
final games, Mario Tennis 64, like, definitely my favorite of the two Mario sports games for the system. It is the game that, no joke, actually got me interested in playing tennis for real, like back in elementary. It was kind of a fun couple years doing that. Afterwards, we got Majora's Mask, the best Zelda game. I've not even played Breath of the Wild, but I still feel confident in saying that.
Breath of the Wild's okay. It's just a bit too empty for my taste.
Yeah. Yep, and then we got Custom Robo V2, which I think I might show that as opposed to Custom Robo 1 just because it's that kind of very iterative sequel that just came out a full year later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sin and Punishment, my favorite game by Treasure, and arguably I'd say my favorite N64 game. It is what turned me into a maniac for Treasure all those years ago.
Probably the one Treasure game I know the least about, other than like the licensed Tiny Toon game that they put out randomly.
Yeah. Wait, you mean like the licensed Tiny Toon one that was like on GBA, I take it? Because I recall them making a PS2 one that got canceled.
Yeah, did it get cancelled?
Yeah,
That must be the one that I'm thinking of.
yeah, Defenders of the Universe, I think it was called.
Oh, well, Luniverse. Yeah,
Luniverse, right.
yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of.
Mm-hmm. Then Paper Mario, one of the scant few RPGs for the system, but damn is it a fun, quaint one. And,
One of about 6, I think.
yeah, and probably the one that you could call actually good, obviously.
Well, no one's playing Quest 64 that much for damn sure.
Someone's gonna come barging into the chat room and be like, Aiden Chronicles represent! Yeah. And then, the best rare game, Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Yeah.
So that's it.
You can tell with Conker's Bad Fur Day they were tired of the collectathons and wanted to do something a little less family friendly.
They were tired of so many things, and it is one of just the best taking the piss out of everything in themselves games ever. I love it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that'll definitely have to get shown by the end. And naturally, you would think with this, okay, we got Mario 64 all the way at the beginning, the famous launch title, we're going to show that, right? Well, no. I mean, if you want to see me play this game on stream, I did it like a month ago. I did a 120 star playthrough in which I knocked it out like 3 days back to back in the total span of 6.5 hours because it's great.
Yeah, kind of scary how quickly you blazed through that one.
Yeah, especially when it had been like quite a few years since I had actually touched it. And of course it surprised me because I was like, I had never taken the time to actually check how much time I spent on the game because there's no in-game clock for it. And when I did that, I was like, Jesus, this game is brisk.
Yeah.
Like all the other 3D Mario games that I've been going through, they like have there's just so much more time in between you getting each star or shine or whatever MacGuffin you need to get every time. It's kind of insane, but I guess that's another thing that just makes me still appreciate these early 3D games. They got that briskness of like still the 16-bit gen.
And get the coffee on.
Yep, for sure. Now, instead of going straight into Mario 64, I think it's only fair we show off the other launch title. Also, when I turn this on, do not be surprised if the feed starts to look like the brightness has gone jacked way the hell up. You might see. So, this is something we're gonna kind of have to deal with. This does even itself out over time, like the brightness and whatever. But for whatever reason, because I do still play these games off the CRT and split the signal to the retro tank and the TV itself, when I have all this shit on, like, if I plug in a new cartridge and then turn it on, it gives what you just saw there with the screen having like the brightness jacked all the way to max before leveling itself out. It doesn't seem to do that if I have the cartridge in there for a while, turn it off, and then back on. But since we're doing a whole lot of rapid fire going between all these different games, that's kind of going to be inevitable. So, at least, again, like you see, this is what it normally is supposed to look like now. It only takes a few seconds to really get there.
Well, that's not too bad.
Yeah. Pilotwings 64. It's a cool game. All kinds of stuff. This is like a file that I've still not gotten myself to get all the gold medals on as I can because these pilot class stages are so difficult. But just all kinds of cool stuff that we could like check out. Got hang glider, a rocket belt, you know, jetpack type thing, gyrocopter. We can become a birdman, shoot ourselves out of a cannon, or go skydiving. Unfortunately, I don't have the Little States stage unlocked for the time being, so we'll just do let's do some Birdman.
Rest on Batman's helmet.
Yes, we are becoming Mr. Birdman, the attorney at law. Okay.
Off to deliver that thing that I sent you.
Yep. Yeah, we got Lark. We got Lark, who looks a whole lot like Nestor from the old Nestor and Howard comics. Kiwi, Ibis. Yeah, Ibis, Goose, Hawk, and Robin. Unsurprisingly, a game called Pilotwings, all the characters are named after birds.
Yep.
Let's go with Goose. You can change, you know, like the time of day and weather and all that.
Yeah, I remember that being like a really big deal when the N64 came out. People were like, wow, real-time lighting, this is amazing.
Lighting, weather effects, all kinds of stuff. Absolutely.
Yep.
And this is just, like, you know, like, there's a good reason for why I decided to go this way of just, like, picking Birdman as opposed to, you know, like, any of, like, the main exam courses and challenges or whatever. Because sometimes, like, this game gets brutally hard if you're trying to get the best score, especially a perfect. It's like feels damn near impossible at times. Like for context, I've still not completed this like with gold medals or even close to perfect scores. The only Pilotwings I've done it on actually was the 3DS launch game, Pilotwings Resort. And like that one, I have no idea how I did it on 3DS, especially considering like the nature of like that 3D circle pad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just, you know, not quite the same feel as, like, a full analog stick, you know? Even something compared to the stick on this fucking thing.
I mean, it would have been nice if they basically tried to copy the Neo Geo Pocket joypad, because that thing was amazing.
Really?
Yeah, really nice sort of clicky stick. Genuinely one of the best handheld pads I've ever used in my life.
Look at that. We can actually land on the ground if you position yourself just right, angling so your feet is down close to the ground. It's a nice little thing, and then flap to be on our way. Like, this is just one of those modes where even if I'm not feeling up to taking a crack at some of the pilot class levels, Birdman is always just like a fun thing to chill out in, you know? Like, this is a great complementary game to Mario 64 if you just look at how... I mean, again, like, you have to really think back to, like, what things were like This time back when like Nintendo was fine releasing consoles where like the only launch titles were probably like 2 or 3.
Oh yeah, I remember. Well, I don't know if it was. I don't think it was the case in the States, but when it was released over here, we got Pilotwings and Mario, and then it was about another 3 months before any other games got released for the N64.
I think the same for that was also the case in the States. I think Japan was only slightly different in that they had like a third launch game, but it's so nothing because it's just a shogi game.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was that shogi game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, absolutely. But I mean,
Yeah.
like, even like if you had the money back then for like both the system and these 2 games, I feel like that's like a hell of a value. And the commonality that they obviously have in them is that a lot of flying. Mario had the wing cap. You fly exclusively, practically, in Pilotwings 64. Just if you wanted to show off just how amazing moving through 3D space can be, why not just have the ability to just like fly and have a bird's eye view over everything that this system can render? All right, I think that's enough.
That was terrifying.
Yeah,
That was horrible.
all of their screams are like that, I'm going to be honest. Alright, that's Pilotwings. On to the next one. You could tell that, like, these games we're swapping through are going to go a lot shorter than previous grab bags. But that's kind of nice, because so many of these games that I especially want to show off aren't the kind of games that are, like, big epic adventures or whatever, you know?
Yeah, the N64 always felt to me it was like the PlayStation was where you went for in-depth games. The N64 was where you went for bite-sized games.
Yeah, like, bite-sized games that, like, gave you, like, 4-player multiplayer and all that.
Yeah. Whereas there wasn't really as much of that on the PS1.
Yeah. And admittedly, I say 4-player, but this game that we're showing off right now doesn't have that. It only goes up to 2-player, but I mean it's still fun as a single player. Because I think it's like, yeah, you say bite size, but I think like the other descriptor I would use that I think is more in depth in describing how a lot of these feel. I would describe as arcadey. Like think of that like an arcade game. Get in,
that's a good
have
word.
your fun, get out.
Yep.
So let's do a time trial.
Select your watercraft, please.
All these the same four characters: Ayami, Stewart, Jetter, Mariner. Admittedly, it's like I know there's like these like custom like watercraft tuning settings you can do, but for whatever reason, I never bothered with them whenever I played this game. I'm pretty sure I was able to get through like all of the championship mode difficulties with just the normal settings. I just
Select your course, please.
went at it as hard as I could while dealing with the occasional moment in which the wave physics fucks you over.
Yeah, people, I think, at the time, or before this, were used to, like, any kind of, like, water racing game, be it jet skis or speedboats or whatever. They were used to it just basically being a reskinned kart game, essentially.
Yeah,
you know?
like, the idea of proper simulated wave physics wasn't really a thing until this time. I mean, like, heck, even I'm pretty sure there was like a jet ski racing arcade game on the Model 2 that, like, even then it did not. I have no idea why I didn't just focus on the dive, but I got on the other side anyway.
Yeah.
But like,
I mean, if it works.
but even like that Model 2 jet ski racing game that I'm forgetting the name of, even it didn't have like these sort of wave physics. Like the water was flat.
Yeah, like I said, it was just a driving game with a different skin.
Yeah. Whereas this was like, yeah, we could do wave physics, and yes, it is going to take up like a full 80% of the N64's computing power. We're gonna do it anyway. And go and do all kinds of cool things to show it off, like Southern Island, where the tide recedes with every lap, and it completely changes like certain routes and shortcuts you're able to take. Like, no wonder they were proud of this map, because it's always the last map that you get, like, when going through any of the difficulties on championship mode. Like, they always add extra, like, stages in between, but they always save this one for last because they know it's a banger.
Also, that Model 2 jet ski game was Wave Runner.
Wave Runner, right. Probably unsurprising why I didn't remember it, because I seem to recall the wave in the name, and I'm like, no, that's Wave Race. Just confusing.
I'm sure I played in an airport once. It was a big stand-up cabinet with a jet ski modeled into it.
Also, when I was talking about arcade-like games, just look at this arcade enter your initial screen.
Shiny chrome letters. We're in the future now, kids.
Water ripples.
Wow, so real.
Yep. Gotta pop out quickly to show the other side of Wave Race, besides just racing. Stunts. I may not be able to remember what all of them are, but I'll try my best.
I remember someone who just played the stunt mode pretty much exclusively.
Really?
Yeah, he absolutely loved the stunt mode in this game. Basically, just played through the story. Well, story.
Grand Prix.
The Grand Prix once, and then got into the stunt mode and was like, "Yep, this is me forever now."
Yeah. I probably should have done a lot more with, like, trying to, I don't know, well, I'm doing pretty terrible at this, obviously, but not gonna be getting a lot of good scores from this. Also, this stage is very hard because of just ice. But I just wanted to show the things that, might not be common for most people, because you basically have to unlock the expert championship races in order to like access this stage, and it is hard as you would expect it. And also because I just wasn't remembering a lot of like the major stunts that you could do with this, besides the barrel roll and like the dive, I think it was. Barrel roll's as simple as you like move to the left or right and then the opposite direction while in midair.
Yeah, pretty much like in almost every other game.
Kinda, yeah. But there's all kinds of other crazy stuff you can do, at least when you're on the water itself. Like, that just has your rider, like moving in a position that they're, like, sitting on the front and the opposite direction. Like, like real fun stuff you could do. It's funny, like, we'll probably show off 1080, and, like, that game also has, like, a stunt mode and tricks, but I feel like I'm more into appreciating, like, the stunts that you can do in Wave Race compared to how it is in 1080. But that's because 1080's got, like, a certain intensity to it where it's like you really do not want to bail at any point, so you just kind of focus on keeping your board level and getting down the mountain as fast as possible.
Yeah, if I remember, 1080 feels more like a Tony Hawk's game than anything else, really.
Kinda. I guess it's always a bit difficult to really know to like say for sure, just because with skateboarding, it's more open, obviously. Like, the act of skateboarding isn't inherently tied to gravity pushing you down a hill, which is where I've always heard that being, like, the criticism. Like, whenever I've heard, like, say, Jeff Gerstmann, like, especially when talking about, like, these extreme sports games, and obviously being a fan of the Tony Hawk games, like, reasons he never liked the downhill jam levels from 1, which I'm in the same boat in, is because, like, just turning it into a downhill race kind of limits the fun of what you could do with that, and he also felt that extended to snowboarding games. I don't necessarily agree with that extra part of, like, his assertion, but I understand where he's coming from on that front.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're skipping over a couple games, mostly because it's like, with Star Fox, I feel like if I were to do that, I would be incentivized to do a full playthrough, and that's like half an hour. And Mario Kart 64, I'm going to say right now, I'm pretty sure that card is just not working for me anymore. Like,
that's a shame.
Yeah, but again, it's whatever, because it's like, I mostly bought it just for the sake of having it on the shelf, because I have memories of playing it a lot, but I also know that, like, there are other racing games for this system that I like way more than that.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's get some Rare up in this stream right now.
Okay.
Yep, there it is. Obviously, the one thing I'm clearly missing out by having this Japanese version instead of the English one is I can't obviously read, like, the text, because I've at least seen footage of, like, the text they give for, like, the game's, like, quote, story, and it is pretty hilarious how they just create this lore to facilitate, like, this otherwise completely insane game concept. It's pretty funny, but, like, but this is such a gameplay-focused game to begin with that, like, I don't feel it's as necessary.
Yeah, well, I've got Google Lens on my phone. Should be able to translate anything that comes up on screen.
Probably won't be as necessary right now, but there we go. Our usual initials. I mean, if you could try translating that, be my guest. Oh, wait, it went away. Shit.
Remove all obstacles in the path of the trailer.
Yep. Describing the whole goal of the game, because the trailer is carrying nuclear missiles. Actually, I'm going to skip this.
Genius chemists who are something something.
Yeah, I'm actually just going to go straight to the game, because that's where the real action is. And I obviously generally know how to, like, control this and whatnot.
You can check the trailer's something by pressing the pause button. I think they might have that a bit wrong.
Yeah, something like that. Regardless, it's like, whatever these buildings that you see that have the green arrows around them, you gotta destroy them, because they are directly in the path of the carrier. With this very bizarre...
Power slides.
With this very bizarre, like, off-brand Cotton Eye Joe remix, or whatever the fuck this song is. Yep. So, like, that's basically the first thing that you're expected to do when going through each of these levels. Is like, the first priority is to always destroy, like, the buildings that are marked with the green arrows, because of if the trailer collides with it, the nuke explodes, everyone dies. But the thing is that the level itself doesn't really, like, just because I ended the level right here by exiting my vehicle and going into the exit trailer, that doesn't mean it's the end. Like, we go back here to go, I believe. The trailer is gone, so we can go back through these levels and basically do everything that's part of, like, the 100% completion. Like, these lights, we have to make them light up. That's part of it. They're called RDUs, and I forget what what that's like an acronym or initialism for. There's
Isn't
also
some, like, remote demolition or detonation unit or something.
I think that might be it. Yeah, but then there's also, you still get money for destroying all the buildings, even though it's kind of a pointless thing to do in the story context. But it doesn't matter. This game rewards you for just breaking shit. And then lastly...
Breaking shit and doing sick-ass drifts in your bulldozer.
Yep. Pressing the R button, like, activates the horn. It does different things, though, depending on, like, the vehicle you use. Which, oh boy. I don't know if we'll ever get I don't know if, like... Actually, no, I'm pretty sure I won't be able to get far enough into the game to show off the backlash and why some people kind of curse this game for it. But,
is that the, one of the robot suits?
No, it's, like, basically take this tractor, but, make it so that, the hurt box that is used to destroy things is on the back, and you have to do, like, Mario Kart-style drift turns to collide your back with objects and make them, to destroy them. It's very hard to control.
It's meant to be, like, the quote-unquote best vehicle in the game, but also, like, the worst to use.
Yeah, it's real tough, for sure. We can get out of our vehicles, as you saw, access other vehicles, which means... Oh, no. Do not, Hold on. I'm trying to make sure that I have room to get out of the train as well, and then we can pick up this all-American sports car. Interesting thing as well about this game, as we know with the N64, there's a lot of things where, oh yeah, I think that's a sign that we got, like, all the hostages or something. So, okay. Bit difficult trying to, like, control this particular car, especially to make it destroy things. But that's fine. We actually don't need to, like, keep using this car. It was mostly just, like, once we grab it, that's when it, that's when it becomes part of our list of vehicles that we can use on future levels. There's some fun stuff to mess around with this, but also, yeah, I think that's 100% on the buildings destroyed.
Literally, it translates as "it became a clean land."
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. Actually, I forget. That doesn't look like. Nah, it doesn't look like that tunnel was open. I think I might have been confusing it with like some of the later levels where there's some really out of the way hidden stuff that sometimes requires you to use specific vehicles or to get out of vehicles itself.
Yeah, the game was pretty infamous for stuff being left really way the fuck out of the way.
Yeah, but it's the sort of thing where it's like there's so many layers to like the different levels of completion that qualify for this game where it's like I don't mind that. Like this is the sort of thing where like, yeah, Rare's idea of 100% completion in their games is to have a good number of things be ball busting as hell in order to justify the price. And that works when you're able to still make like what feels like doing the minimum required amount like doable and fun. And I think like players' complaints about the backlash notwithstanding, because that does take a lot of getting used to. Like I do think this is one of those games that does a very good job of that sort of thing. But yeah, look at that. We got 100% on the buildings, the RDUs, and the civilians saved. That's basically what you're expected to do, at least on the first stretch of Blast Corps whenever you go through it, because there's obviously like crazy stuff with like time trials and whatnot that become more of a thing post-game.
Show us what you've got.
Yeah, once you start getting into the last half dozen maps or so, the game becomes an exercise in pain.
Yeah.
Just how much can we make you suffer and still vaguely enjoy it?
Yeah. Here we are in a big jetpack mecha, I'm gonna call it. I'm pretty sure based on like the size of this thing compared to like our regular dude, I think this qualifies as mini mecha.
It's bigger than a power suit. I'd say it qualifies for a mech.
Yep. Yeah, it probably does count as like 4 meters at the least.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is like the gameplay loop for this. And you can kind of see the appeal of this game if you were to like pick this up and really get into it starting out, because it's like, okay, you start out with like a bulldozer. That makes sense for like just running through things to demolish them. And then you go on one of these side paths and it's like, hold on, I am a mecha and can ground pound buildings? Fuck yes.
Not the only mech as well.
Yeah, there's like another one that the idea behind it is that like it only has one arm but it rolls around and things like that. I actually watched a what was it? I watched a speed run like from an old like GDQ where they did 100% run of this game, because yes, there are people that are good enough to do that. And they had one of the game's developers like on call to basically add to the commentary. And one thing that developer added, I forgot what his name was, but he said that the reason for like that mecha that only has the one arm, the reason for that is because they completely went over their polygon budget on it, and so they had to remove parts of it. And instead of just trimming down all the polygons overall, they just decided, screw it, we'll take the arm off, that puts it under the correct polygon budget, and we'll make up a story that they just weren't able to finish it.
Maximize those polygonal fists.
Yeah. Because again, this is such a crazy idea for a game, even by Rare standards at this time. Like, you can tell this was made by people that were like fresh out of school and were just like, we want to just make whatever we can, man. We got this new technology. We got the ability to flex on all these motherfuckers with our Silicon Graphics workstations. Like, fuck it, sky's the limit.
I swear it's probably their most original title, even if it's their most underrated one.
For sure. It's definitely a title that does not, like, it doesn't categorize itself into any of the other types of games that they are known for, you know? It's not a platformer, it's not a shooter, it's not a racing game, although there are missions in this where you technically do race through checkpoints, but, like, it's a very hacked-together kind of racing system because the game's meant more for, you got a sandbox, bulldoze, blow up these things, do what you like. It's cool.
Like, there's racing elements, there's collectathon elements, but the game never really stops and goes, this is what we're going to be doing from now on.
Right. Okay, next game.
Even today is kind of a rarity. No pun intended.
For sure. I might as well show off a couple levels of this. Or at least the opening cutscene. You all know it.
Oh, yes.
There she is.
Marina, help me.
She was showing proper defense.
Just spike that old man.
Yep. Oh, yeah. I've still never 100%ed this game, admittedly. I've gone through the end once, but I was never able to, like, get all of the gold gems, and more importantly, I was never able to get, like, the average A rank for time across all levels, which gives you its own gold gem. Like, they make you bust your ass off to get, like, the 100% ending for this game. But
yeah, this game is borderline sadistic at times.
The S rank times are fucking mental. I'm actually gonna just erase this old one. Quit. Oh yeah, that's right. They do this bullshit to fake you out of erasing your data. Erase? Really? Quit? No. Fuck you. Yeah, we'll just go with like a temporary name and whatnot because it's like this isn't gonna be my main file. I really do need to get back to like the main file on this one and actually do things about it, or like actually get to the end again because it has been a while. I just get so hung up on wanting to get those best times on levels as early as possible. But you just gotta mash like that D-pad and C buttons in order to like get the boost tricks to come out the way you want.
Yeah, speaking of GDQ, fuck.
GDQ.
Yeah. They did the first time they did a speedrun of this.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was probably going by the reactions, it was the first time people had ever seen it finished properly.
Really?
People just completely lost their shit.
Like, remember what year it might have been? Because I do recall like an old GDQ run of Mischief Makers, but I think the thing that I remember most from this was like the runner. Like he had like his girlfriend was there like on the co-commentary couch, and he basically ended the run by like proposing to her afterwards.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Which was like, you know, like that was like certainly like exciting. Like he managed to like do like an impressive job showing off the game, along with I'm pretty sure as well like getting all like the gold gems. So that meant the true ending as well, I think.
Yeah.
And then proposing as the ending cutscene was running its course.
Yep, it was 2015.
Right, yeah, I remember that year.
I will put the link in chat if you give me a sec.
Yeah, it's a good one to watch, for sure. Anyway, the prof's been kidnapped. Again, it's prof because they only had enough space in the text to just, like, shorten it to that.
No, it's his full name. He is Professor Prof.
Mm-hmm. There he is. Yep, you've been kidnapped by the evil empire. What's gonna happen? Ordered to take you to our
Zack De
emperor.
La Roca is going to be really pissed off at him.
Yeah, that's all we were told. What I do know is that you'll have a horrible time with us. Get ready to cry and scream. Boy, is that a mid-90s translation if I've ever seen one for something that's not trying to get a teen rating. Unfortunately, I can't look at the cartridge ESRB rating because it's completely swallowed up by the N64. But yeah, I'm pretty sure this was an E rating. look at how bright and cartoony this is. Like, you wouldn't think they'd try and slip that past.
K2A, apparently. Yeah.
Yeah, that made sense. Oh, here we are. Marina accidentally showing herself as a racist.
Yikes!
But then, of course, she quickly gets told, no, like, don't associate us with those guys. We're all suffering because of them. Don't just judge everyone by their face.
All you clan holes look the same.
Yep. Good old shake.
Yep, that's 90% of the game right there. Now watch as we proceed to do nothing at all like the first stage for the rest of the game.
Yeah. Also very rusty, admittedly, on like the like on the controls and whatnot.
Just left a bit. No, other way. There you go.
Yeah, trying to remember, like, what the hell am I missing as far as, like... Oh, right, it's L for activating it. I thought it was either L or R. That was weird. You can tell it's been a while.
Yeah. I vaguely remember most of the game being controlled with the shoulder buttons.
Yeah, it's like shoulder buttons, D-pad, C buttons as well, because you kind of, like, could alternate between those for, like, maximum, like, boost dashes and whatnot.
Hmm.
I mean, there's also, trying to see if I can remember to, like, pull it off this way, but, yeah, that's it. Like, if you do, like, a crouch dash up an incline and jump up, that basically gives you a shit ton of air, and you essentially do that to, like, get yourself, like, get as high as possible, and then just mash the D-pad and C buttons in rapid succession so you can, like, maintain your air time. And that's, like, pretty important for, like, some sections. Getting across gaps and whatnot.
The tech in the game gets surprisingly in-depth for, you know, what's essentially a really simplistic concept.
Mm-hmm. And look, second level in, we already got our doppelganger. Kalina. Oh no, the horrors.
Normally we wait until at least episode 7 before we pull this shit out.
Yeah. I definitely appreciate this game just having, like, brief moments of acting like, yeah, it's like an anime. like when you complete a world and, like, the end boss of it. You know, it's like, stay tuned for the continuing adventures of Marina Ultra Lightyear, or whatever. I forget her last name is. Marina Lightyears, yeah. She's the Ultra Cybot G.
Yeah, games in the late 90s and early 2000s really loved doing that sort of thing.
Look at how I got on top of that. That's the beauty of, like, that tech that I just described. And we got a gold gem. Oof, okay, that didn't work out.
Yeah. There we go.
Oh, yeah. Yep, just getting a whole bunch of gems out of this, obviously. Like, there's... And like, this is tame for what the game puts you through, I should add. Even though it's like, you look at what the controls have on offer and the game mechanics are like, okay, this is a unique enough 2D platformer. But then you get a couple worlds in, and then it's like, hold on, I'm participating in a math Olympics?
I was gonna say, yeah, that's before we get to the sports day.
Yeah, or the like the item crafting by putting stuff in a pot and then shaking it.
Or the cat races.
The cat races, which one of those is a boss?
Yeah, I do like the cat in the game.
Yeah, the cat's great. This is also even the bit where
very...
Marina becomes incapacitated and you have to play as one of the Clancers.
Yep.
It's like it was a nice bit right there.
Yeah, like I said, Treasure are one of those companies where they'll go, okay, first couple of stages, fairly straightforward. Now we proceed to never do anything like that for the rest of the game.
Yeah, they're like there's a reason that they could be considered as like being manic. in their design. And a nice thing about this that I also have to say that makes me like this game as well, its director. It is the same director of Alien Soldier, and the same director who would go on to make Sin and Punishment.
Oh, it definitely... Alien Soldier influence definitely shows.
Yeah, the man is like... He loves his games that are just packed, like, just with so much, like, random stuff back-to-back, just never letting you dwell too long on any sort of concept, be it a boss fight or level gimmick or what have you. It's just always going to one thing after the other.
Yep, just, okay, you've had a jet ski race with a cat, now we are going to set a 50-foot robot on you. Okay, now it's cookery time. Now it's platforming time.
Mm-hmm.
All of that actually happens in the game as well. Watch that playthrough. It is nuts.
Yeah, it's people that have fond memories of the N64, you know that they are really into it if they list that game as one of their favorites. Now then, I think it's only fair that we showed at least this off, you know, as dated as it might be, as rough in technical performance as it might be. I still don't mind showing off at least one level, mostly because at least with this copy of the game I have, it still has all of like my completion data from years and years ago, which means I beat every mission on 00 Agent, and I unlocked all the cheats and all that stuff. But yeah, this game, this was a big deal for people back in '97.
I think I've mentioned it before on various streams, but I was the only person, like most people, when, you know, if they grew up with PS1 and the N64, they would be like the only N64 owner and a group of PS1 friends. It was the opposite for me. I was the one PS1 kid in N64 then.
Oh, wow.
And because everyone else had an N64 with a copy of GoldenEye, they played it constantly, you know, always doing the multiplayer. So, you know, they would be like, hey, let's play multiplayer. And I'd be like, no. They'd be like, why not? It's like, because you guys are just going to completely punk me left and right.
Yeah, that's not especially fun when that happens. Like, I know that like contributed a lot to me getting turned off of Halo when I first got to experience it, because the only people that had the game only cared about going straight into multiplayer and nothing else.
Yeah. I would just tell them straight, you know, it's not fun. And they'd be like, yeah, for you.
Yeah.
We're having a brilliant time.
This game, I would say, at least from a design sense, still fun. It's just this and Perfect Dark have the same problem of, man, they just run like a dog.
Yeah.
But we're just showing off the classic, the first level, Damn, on 007 mode, which is like the bonus modifier difficulty level that you can set for yourself, where it has all the objectives that you would have on 00 Agent, but you can adjust things like enemy health, their damage, reaction speed, and accuracy. So it's
very surprising and disappointing that other games haven't done that in the years since.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm pretty sure even Perfect Dark, I think, has it, but I've never gotten around to completing it just because when I got Perfect Dark, it was way later compared to GoldenEye, so I had more time to get familiar with what this game had.
Yeah, if I remember, it does give you the option to set up stages with different modifiers.
Yeah.
And it did do the same thing of the higher the difficulty level, the more things you have to do per stage, which again, something that really should have carried over into other games.
Yeah. But it's like with this game and Perfect Dark, I've always still maintained that I think like this, these type of games emphasize the direction that I wish like console first-person shooters went for, as opposed to what Halo did, where I feel like it was more ruinous, to put it lightly.
Yeah, I think the problem with Halo is it limited everyone's way of thinking.
Yeah, like, because it's the sort of thing where, like, I feel like there are certain things that people try to, like, say about GoldenEye and Perfect Dark to, like, detract from like any sort of credit you could give, like with controls, even though it's like, dude, did you even look through the options? Did you not even like look at, for instance, I'm going to show it right now just to emphasize. Control style, 1.2 solitaire. Move entirely with either the D-pad or C buttons, and aim with the stick. Almost like a dual analog setup.
A lot of Dreamcast first-person shooters use pretty much the exact same setup.
Yeah, definitely, because they kind of had no choice.
Yeah, Quake 3 Arena, Soldier of Fortune all had the face buttons essentially doubling up as an analog stick. Probably a few others as well, but those are the two that I definitely played.
Yeah, but like with this, is like, yeah, you obviously have a lot of control options. I mean, you can even play with two N64 controllers using that one analog stick to move and the other to aim, but as funny and amazing as that idea was, it always felt like way too heavy on my hands individually.
Yeah, I've done that, and it is fiddly as hell.
Yeah.
Only way I was able to really get it to work properly was, do you remember the N64 display units you'd see in shops?
Right, yeah, because they would kind of have like those sort of almost like semi-bendy like containers around like the cord or whatever to hold it in place.
Exactly, they would be suspended from the unit. That was the only way to play it with two pads.
God, that actually makes a whole lot of sense. God damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Used to do that. Where I worked actually had one of those display units at the time, and had it was almost sort of like a multi-cart unit.
Mm-hmm.
And GoldenEye was one of the games that they had, so I was able to. It was that, and I think Pod Racing. So what's Pod Racing? Had a similar setup as well.
Right, yeah. I can imagine why Pod Racing did that, just to like give you something that was a bit, would probably more resemble like what they portrayed the piloting mechanism for that fucking thing.
Yeah, because in the movie they kind of set it up like, so it's almost like riding a horse, where you've got the two controls in each hand.
Yeah.
And in order to turn, it's, you know, down on one stick, up on the other, or vice versa. So it works really well if you've got something holding up the pads for you. Otherwise, just don't bother.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, you got that stuff with the controls, like the control schemes and whatnot. You've got the aiming, which I feel like again, you talked about with something that I definitely agree with, where it feels like with Halo's influence, it felt like it was limiting people's ideas of like what you could do like with a shooter, because on consoles, because it basically ended up being like, well, why would we do anything else? This works.
Yeah.
But the thing is, this, like what you're seeing with like how I'm moving this crosshair, like its position on screen is relative to the position of where the stick is, like when you're pushing it, you know? It stays center if you leave it in neutral. It goes there, like if you're pushing all the way full tilt and all that. Granted, I think like the range at which might, before it starts turning your view, might be a bit too low. Obviously, I feel like that's the sort of thing where like later games could have definitely adjusted it. But it's the sort of thing that I feel highlights the most important fundamental difference between a mouse and like a stick. Like something that automatically has a fixed center point that it goes back to every time, as opposed to a mouse where it's like wherever you move it, once it stops moving, that is its new center position. And combine of course with the fact that you're moving the entire mouse with like basically like not just a finger, but your entire hand, wrist, and all like the muscles in your arm and whatnot, as opposed to something that's controlled with a thumb. It's the sort of thing where I feel like yeah, does it require a bit of like finesse to get used to? Absolutely, but I'd say it requires no more finesse than it does to get good with aiming with a mouse. Like it's a thing to learn, and I feel like learning how this aiming system work always produces better results as far as giving you that feel of, I want to aim very quickly and accurately. This lets me do it. Like if I have an enemy that is not at the center but is like somewhere off to the left, like around here, I know how far I need to push the joystick because it always consistently goes to that side, and then I can line up the shot just fine.
Yeah, coming from the PC to this, the controls always felt very floaty to me. But
Yeah.
by the same token, as you showed off there, the fact that you can aim independently of where you're looking, like that. Once you get used to that, you're like, why doesn't every game have this?
Yeah, because again, it makes sense with like how the developers of this, they weren't designing in a way where it's like, okay, we know what the leading examples of this genre of game is out right now, you know, like Doom, or, you know, the year before this game would eventually come out, Quake, for instance, Duke Nukem 3D, like all those classics that are still well regarded on PC, you know, as far as, and their influence on the genre, but those are still very PC centric. You can't really make that work entirely as well on a console with like the way that just the control methods work.
Yeah, essentially they said, okay, what can we do? Sort of like, what can't we do compared to the PC? Right, we can't do this, this, and this. How can we do our best to either replicate that or play to our strengths?
Yeah, and I think another way that replicates it very well is, admittedly, I think at the time this would have been something that you could point to as being totally influenced by PC shooters of the day, but the auto aim. Like you're able to shoot at things that and have the gun sort of line up with where they may not be directly in the dead center of the screen, you know? Admittedly, with stuff like Doom, it was a bit different because you had no vertical aiming, so as long as it was in the center, if you were shooting and there was an enemy either above or below you, they would get hit. Like that was their way to compensate for that. This, meanwhile, it's like you see the gun move and angle itself slightly, and obviously, like the strength of the auto aim will obviously change depending on like how high in difficulty you go, you know, because they realize that could very easily become a crutch if you rely on that.
Which it did.
Oh yeah. Yeah, even on Double O Agent, like, what little auto-aim leeway they give you, you still learn to take advantage of it a whole lot.
Yeah. I can't remember what it was. It was a PS3 game I was playing a while back that, you know, auto-aim wasn't enabled by default.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, you could tell. The aiming was very precise, but way too precise for a console game.
Yeah. Yeah, just...
And once, like, it felt like whoever had been playtesting it had been using a mouse and keyboard on DevRix. And once I turned auto aim on, I was like, oh, this game's actually playable now.
Yeah. Though it does also, I think, lead into the sort of thing where I feel like the direction auto aim for console shooters went in was, again, attributed to Halo and why I hate it so much. Like, in contrast to how this game is like, okay, we make it so for auto aim, we don't shift your view, we just shift your gun. Halo was like, what if we just made it so, oh, hello, I didn't see you there.
Embarrassing.
But it's the sort of thing where, like, with Halo, they made it so that the auto aim was more like a soft camera lock-on. And I just absolutely hated that.
It's very much a lock-on. You will actually... Like, it's something I noticed, but once it was pointed out to me, you know, I can't unsee it now. But your camera will lock on, and it's a very hard lock to an enemy. Really, it's not so bad in single player, but in multiplayer, it makes the game worse in my view.
Yeah.
Just because it is such a firm lock. Once you know, and once you notice it, you can't unsee it. You're like, how do I turn this off now?
Yeah, because it's the sort of thing where it's like, I know I've like looked up like behind the scenes making of stuff for Halo, like what Bungie's thought process were from like the development path that Halo took to get to what it was, because we all know that it was multiple things at different times. But like the way that they described it was like they were trying to do the whole thing where it's like, we're trying to, like, design the controls around that, like, we reward player intent rather than, like, actual, like, player execution. Like, trying to make it something where it's like, if you feel like you want to quickly aim somewhere and be accurate, like as accurate as you think it is, you have the game kind of compensate itself to basically support that, you know? Like that's kind of the whole process of why like soft lock on systems in like 3D action games can be, or like a thing, and how that's helpful. You know, you may point in the direction, but they still autocorrect it to a degree to make sure that you don't completely whiff a sword strike because you were off by like 5 degrees.
Yeah,
but I felt it was just too much. Like,
it's a very thin and precise line to toe, because if, you know, as you said, if you do it too much, then it feels like it's taking the player's agency out of it. But if you don't do it enough, then it makes the game unfair.
For sure. And it's just because, and it becomes doubly most annoying for me in that case, because with it being a first-person game, like, your viewpoint is literally your facing direction.
Yeah.
So it leads to the sort of thing where it's like, I want to adjust my aim to focus on something a bit different, but the game is like making me feel like I have to actively wrestle the control away from them. So it's like between that, the like just the way that like the analog controls felt even back then, combined with all the other things that they specifically had to do to have it make sense for what they were wanting on Xbox as opposed to PC or Mac, that's ultimately what it felt like. That's like the core difference between what Bungie had versus what Rare had. Rare weren't PC developers. They weren't making PC first-person shooters and trying to like then dumb one down for like a console. Halo felt exactly what I described. It felt like, you know, it was a formerly like computer game dev, now in a position where it's like, okay, we have to make this type of game that we've been used to on one platform and make it work on another. And just their idea was, I just felt was too much reminding me of like, why wouldn't I just play this other game?
Yeah, as I said, you know, I came from a PC background, so when everyone was like, oh my god, Halo is the best first-person shooter ever, I was like, dude, this isn't even as good as Redneck Rampage.
I maybe wouldn't go that harsh, but I get the sentiment.
it just, like I said, it's just, I was used to games with, you know, like a dozen or so weapons at my command, and fairly precise aiming.
True.
And to go from that to 2 weapons, which is one of the worst things that other games have, you know, copied since.
Yeah.
And fairly imprecise aiming, it just felt like such a step back.
So here's the kart racer that I describe as being better than Mario Kart 64.
Certainly more varied.
It is, for sure.
And in some places, way more irritating as well.
Yeah, you get far enough in adventure mode, it's some of that rareware sadism starts to show itself.
Yeah, just being like, oh, so you think you're hot shit, huh? Huh?
Yeah. But listen to this music, man. A good old, it's a David Wise joint right here. Hey, I know that squirrel.
Looks a bit too sober to be driving.
No, he's not old enough yet. That's the thing. He just got his license, but he's still a couple years away from all the other stuff.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I said a couple years and not 5 because I know Rare is British and I'm pretty sure their drinking laws, like the age requirement, is not like what we have over here.
18, unless it's changed. My 18th, we had big dinner in a pub, and first thing I was asked when I got there was, "What are you drinking?" To which I almost replied, "I don't think it's a good idea to have Jack Daniels with dinner, if that's okay."
Yeah. So this was one of the games that I got from like my recent imports, and the thing that was very pleasant for me to find, because while I do like this game a lot, I knew that I was, as you were describing with some of the hard stuff, I was kind of dreading the possibility that I would have to go back through adventure mode and unlock all this. But whoever owned this, whichever Japanese player had this card originally, they had the decency to unlock all the stuff beforehand. They completed adventure mode, they got the 2 extra characters. So of course we're playing as the best one, TT. But I mean, just look at this. Like, Adventure 1 is complete, but they also got most of the way through Adventure 2, which was just, hey, go through the mode again, except all the tracks are in reverse and things are a bit harder.
Doesn't it play a bit faster on Adventure 2 as well?
I don't know if it was like a faster speed or anything like that. I just know that like the tracks were reversed. But yeah, we'll just like pick up like a random track right now. But yeah, we could pick the Adventure version or the Adventure 2 version, so you see how it's just going backwards now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a cheap, easy way for them to just go all in on, like, you know, making sure there's plenty of content. Choose our vehicle, got a little car, a hovercraft, or a plane.
You think, oh, okay, reversing the tracks, that's a really cheap way of extending playtime. But, I mean, I remember playing Rage Racer back in the day. And there was, 4 tracks in that? With bits cut off. So if you're playing a track on the harder difficulties, it would add or remove bits of the tracks. But once you got to some of the faster cars, it completely changed the way. That alone completely changed the way you took any particular race, because previously you'd be able to just drift around a corner with ease, and then all of a sudden, oh wait, I actually have to think about my positioning.
Yep. So
even,
here we are.
Even the little bits like that add up.
Yeah, this game, still feels good to control. It's Rare's take on Mario Kart, so obviously it's adhering to like a lot of like the kind of core racing ideas that were already started with Super Mario Kart, naturally. But there's obviously like some fun tricks you can do, admittedly. Stuff that is clearly unintended, like if you rapid tap the accelerator, for some reason that puts you over the speed cap. As high as 90. It's fucking hilarious.
Again, GDQ has some really good speedruns of the game.
Yeah, I definitely remember, I think it was like SGDQ 2013, where I recall there being a lot of, there's the runner for that doing a whole lot of mashing the entire way through. As well as the couch just going, get ready, go, before eventually dying down, so it was just one dude.
Yep. They pretty much 100%ed it.
Yeah.
It's been shown a couple of times, but the 100% run, absolutely fantastic.
But yeah, and the nice thing as well is, I think a big reason for why I like this more than Mario Kart 64, we all know about the infamy of, the item randomness and, rubber banding that Mario Kart has as, a balancing point for it.
Yeah, the rubber banding has never really gone away from any of the Mario Kart games.
No, they have not, for sure. But, it's the sort of thing where this game doesn't really do any of that stuff. I mean, they find ways in the adventure mode to make things harder, but that's normally in, the boss levels and other sort of gimmick things. Because it's there's no rubber banding. You, if you saw, the track, you saw the track outline with where all the racers are, I was close to lapping them pretty soon by the end of the third one. And the other thing as well is, on top of there basically being no rubber banding, you have more control over, the items that you pick up from the balloons, which I greatly appreciate. You kind of prioritize, what type of item it is that you actually want. If you want, a weapon to take out someone in front of you, or just hold on to until someone passes by and you just unload a barrage of missiles.
Yeah, being able to power up the weapons is a really, really nice addition to the format as well.
Yeah, just powering up either weapon types, traps, or just your boosters. That's nice. Yes, you are Conker. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure even back then he was still voiced by Chris Sevor, because he was still working on 12 Tales at the time, before this bear fuck stole all the thunder from him.
Yeah, this is sort of Conquer the Disney child star years.
Yeah, just, oh my god, just like the development stories of Conker's Bad Fur Day, and just what sort of internal contributions were the things that led to Bad Fur Day being what it is? It's extra funny. Like,
I mean, wasn't the whole when they essentially decided to, for lack of a better term, rebel and do a more adult game? Wasn't that basically designed after like spending the entire weekend drinking?
like the whole story goes is that between Conker and Banjo was not Banjo yet. Conker was getting worked on before Banjo, and they already knew from the start. They were like, cool, Mario 64 is out. We're Rare. We basically make the kind of games Nintendo does, but with our own spin. Let's do our own 3D platformer. Banjo, before that, the team making it were creating a game called Dream. Oh, or Dreams, whichever one it is. Oh, not Dreams. That's the Medium Molecule user-generated game engine thing for PlayStation. But yeah, Project Dream.
I actually know someone who worked on that.
Oh, cool. Yeah. But yeah, Project Dream was like, I forget even what genre they were trying to aim for, but they were like so focused on trying to like make their own custom like modular 3D like world engine and whatnot, but it was having trouble getting anywhere. Like no concrete game was being formed out of it. So because like these were all like separate teams working out of a bunch of barns in Twycross, the Stampers were like, okay, you guys aren't getting anywhere. Take a look at what other teams are doing on the N64. Maybe you can get some inspiration. So they looked at 12 Tales Conquer 64 and were like, well, shit, why don't we just do that? And that's how Banjo started. And then it came out before Conquer, and Chris and all the other team were basically like, you fucking bastards. And then, of course, combined with, like, the increasing stigma of Nintendo's consoles being for kids, you know, not for cool, mature gamers. And then also probably just the fact that DK64 and Banjo 2 and Jet Force Gemini happened. They were like, man, fuck this bullshit.
I think the fact that they'd also been working on the game for about 37 years at that point probably weighed heavy on them.
It basically started development at the beginning of the N64's life, and it finished at the end of the N64's life. Yeah. But
that was a long gestation period.
Yeah. Obviously, like with all these games we've been showing, these are very bite-sized demonstrations, but I think you can kind of clearly see just like the fun and charm of what Diddy Kong Racing has, because again, like the way items handle differently, the lack of rubber banding. We didn't show off adventure mode, but that might be something if I feel like I'm up to it, I could go out of my way to try like a stream of it. At the very least, I could get a good majority of the way through before feeling like, right, fuck this, I can't do this live anymore.
Yeah, I would say play it until you start screaming.
Yeah. So here's the favorite snowboarding game of mine, with this amazingly compressed, like, main menu track, with
so crunchy,
such crunchy, inaudible lyrics. But I kind of dig it. Alright, yeah, we'll just go straight into Time Attack.
Feel the frost in your tips.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got 5 people to choose from. Look at this pre-rendered snow lodge that is just like a panoramic view, and they managed to make it look convincing.
And it's like Jet Set Radio, but not as good.
Yeah, it still got its own vibe for sure. Admittedly, I think I've forgotten like what the... Actually, could you look up something for me? Could you look up 1080 snowboarding, like, cheats or secrets or whatever? Because I know there's, like, certain button combos you're supposed to hold when selecting these characters that get you extra characters.
Let's take a look. Cheats.
Because I think there's, like, extra riders specifically that you can get.
Take control of the camera, easy fast start, panda border. Let's see. I mean, it's saying that there's unlockables. Yeah, panda border. Get the best high score / time in all of the time attacks and trick attacks. Then get all 3 best scores in contest mode. Then go to player selection, highlight Rob Haywood, hold C right and press A.
Let's go.
Let's see, because I think I already got it. Yep, I already had Panda Rider unlocked.
Okay, there's also Ice Border.
Yeah. But I think I want to go with Panda Border for now because I think he's my least used of the extras. I want to say, I think there was also like one of these, there's a similar button combo if you do on one of these boards that lets you swap out the board with a penguin.
Yep, penguin board. Select the, do all 24 tricks. Then select the board Tahoe 151 and hold C down.
Okay. Alright, so we got Crystal Lake, Peak, Golden Forest, a level that I'd say is significant because its background track is one that has been in the Smash Bros. Series since Brawl onwards. Like, it's one of those miscellaneous music tracks that they feature in with a whole bunch of other games that aren't big enough to have, like, their own, like, series representation.
Hashtag we still remember.
Yeah. Go with Deadly Fall, because this is the biggest, most open one.
Ready? Go!
Yep, there's the penguin board. And we got a giant panda head.
Yeah, was I mishearing, or did the penguin squeak when you landed?
Yes, you are hearing it correctly.
Right, okay.
Like, this is fun. I'm glad we can show off, like, these goofy little extras.
Yeah, remember when they used to put stuff like this in games and it wasn't DLC?
Yeah, Rare did it a lot, and like, there's funny enough, like, a whole lot of like extra codes you could put in for Diddy Kong Racing that admittedly I didn't get to showing, but that's just because we're doing a very bite-sized demonstration of it. But yeah, this is it's nice how even if I've been away from the game for a long time, a lot of my muscle memory and control for this comes back to me because a lot of it is just focused on don't crash. Keep your board level with whatever terrain you think you're going to land on at all times. Because otherwise, like, if you're a dumb kid like I was and you don't realize that fact, you're going to keep crashing all the time and not be able to complete races.
I'm actually kind of impressed by the cloth physics in the character.
Yeah, it's
for an N64 game, that's really good.
Yeah, I forget. Like, there's, like, a specific programmer or whatever, not James T. Goddard, that's the Eternal Champions guy. I think it was another dude, his last name was Goddard, Giles or something, but, like, he was, like, he worked with Nintendo on, like, a couple of games from this time on the tech side of things, and this was one of them, because of, like, just the physics on, just simulating the idea of just, like, the wind pushing against your, just your clothing as you are rushing down this mountain at such a high speed.
Yeah.
Like, it was really, really cool. I think he went on to do, like, a WiiWare game years and years later called Rock and Roll Climbing. It was basically just a rock climbing game because, of course, WiiWare was, like, you were never going to find normal games on that thing.
I mean, like, everyone tops up the Xbox Live Indie Gaming thing, but WiiWare was like, you can literally base an entire game around one vague concept and people will go apeshit for it.
Yeah.
Fine.
Let's see. I think if I remember if this was the, no. Oh, shit. I was trying to remember what the, because I know it's one of these C buttons now.
Oh, the other character is...
Yeah, it's the gold border, which I remember you had to select Kensuke, which is what I have hovered over right now.
Yep, C up and then tap A.
C up, tap A. Should be... Yes, it is. Okay.
Now
go with,
playing
like,
as Dural.
Yeah! We have Doral and piss-colored Doral.
Ready? Go!
Oh, wow. That is,
Yeah,
That is insane.
someone just, like, took a whiz into a bucket and froze it. This is
Probably
one of my
the
favorite
Doral.
tracks, though, because it's like, you can take a massive shortcut off of this jump. And again, it's like, as long as the board is parallel to whatever you're going to land on, you won't crash, regardless if... Like, in a lesser game, they would take that cliffside and be like, no, it doesn't matter how you landed on it. You weren't supposed to be here. You're going to crash.
yeah.
Like, I love doing this. This was how...
GX.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Okay, that was a bit, Oh well, that didn't take any actual damage off of my life bar. It was just a slight hiccup, but still, like just that shortcut alone is enough to guarantee a win on this track, no matter what. Ow. Okay, well you saw what happens when you don't line up correctly.
Okay, that one hurt.
Yeah. And as you'd expect, Rumble Pack, when you have this plugged in, it's going off all the time. Like, it is definitely doing everything it can to make you feel like, right, you are snowboarding down a very, like, rough, uneven surface.
Yeah, I remember people saying at the time, like, Star Fox was the first one to use it, but 1080 was the first one to make it work.
Yeah. Yeah, because Star Fox, from what I remember, it was basically really only something that happened if you collided or got damaged by anything. And it got increasingly... The vibration increased more dramatically when you were close to death or you actually died.
Also, if you were charging a shot, then it would start vibrating pretty violently.
Oh, it's a new record.
Yeah, so that's how 1080 goes. It's a shame that the GameCube sequel was not as good as this, though.
Yeah, I forgot there was a GameCube version.
Yeah, it's very weird because it felt like it was trying to bite off a bit more of like that SSX style, like extreme sports vibe to it, but not going all the way with it like SSX did.
Yeah, I kind of half-assed it.
Yeah, because it's the sort of thing where it's like, yeah, you could do tricks in 1080, but it's not nearly as much of a focus as it is in this game. Whereas with SSX, I felt like it was doing a lot more to better split that difference. And when they did Avalanche and tried to crib some of that style, it still wasn't as close to a even split as SSX made it.
Yeah.
So, do we go with Mystical Ninja next, even though that's kind of a long game? I feel like, because if I just start with the opening, there won't be too much.
Yeah, if just like the first 5 or 10 minutes or so, just to get a feel for the game, because otherwise it's really going to be... It's a game you need to be in for the long haul for it to show off properly.
Yeah, like Mystical Ninja, like, if that is a game, if anything, that I would save for like a full stream playthrough, because it deserves it.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically like a denser and wackier version of Mario 64.
Yeah, with a bit of Zelda in it, like months before Ocarina of Time would come out.
Yeah. Like, I feel it's one of those games people know of, but they've never actually seen properly.
Yeah. So we're just going to go on to the best racing game on the system, the actual best, and the best F-Zero game. Fuck you, GX fans.
Ooh, okay, I thought I was being controversial earlier, but holy shit.
I will take that stance to my fucking grave. Like, this is... like, for real. Like, this is still, like, my favorite F-Zero game, and it's the one that I feel, like, exemplifies what the game's, like, gameplay and depth is capable of. Because, like, GX has got some cool stuff you can do. It obviously has that boost from being developed by Sega developers who had experience on, like, Daytona and other arcade racers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is still, unsurprisingly, because this was developed internally at Nintendo, this is the game where I feel like, for F-Zero, this is what F-Zero is to me. Like, aesthetically, that's also part of it, because even though, I mean, you see the in-game, like, racing or whatever, like, the graphics are very primitive, but you see, with the music, and even, like, this menu background and things like that, it's evoking, like, a pulpy, like, Western sci-fi comic to it, you know?
I mean, even with it being so, primitive, if you say, like, the game fucking moves.
Yeah, this is one of the few N64 games that aims for 60 FPS and delivers on it. And 3D. Because there are 2D games, obviously, on here, and naturally those are going to run at 60 FPS, no problem. So we're going to go into the mode that is a big reason why I call this the best F-Zero. Death Race.
Yes. Everyone loves Death Race.
Yeah. It's a shame that there was no similar mode to it in GX. The closest you got was like Chapter 4 of the game's story mode, because the whole idea is
that's
you
right.
going on a linear track and you have to ram into a bunch of vehicles belonging to Michael Chain's like intergalactic gang.
It's more of a demolition race than a death race.
Yeah, because you can die on this. Obviously, the tricky part, though, when trying to do this as fast as possible is that, like, if you do overshoot another racer and you don't know how far back they are, it can add unnecessary extra time to, like, the proceedings because it's like, fuck, I gotta wait now.
Also, the Michael Chains fight, if I remember right, you had to take them all out before you got to the end, whereas this is a lot more relaxed. It's just, fast as you can do.
Yeah, with Michael Chain, it's like if you didn't destroy all of his cronies before getting like 5,000 kilometers, I think, away from the end, they basically form a meat shield.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Just didn't think that was particularly fun.
I mean, again, I liked it a lot primarily because it just was the closest thing to giving me Death Race vibes from like of this mode. Plus the background music on that, Night of Big Blue, is still like the best song on the soundtrack for me. Like crazy, like the hardest Big Blue techno remix that they could go with.
GX has some great music, most of it not available.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Yeah, and like the music for GX, done by the same dude that has done the music for the Yakuza series. Like you could see like that musical style carrying over super hard in like the boss fights.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I can see that now.
Yeah, just like pull up like Pledge of Demon from Yakuza 0, and that's like the most obvious. And now I have to wait because of what I just talked about.
Yep, there we go.
Alright, but I only saw one pass right there, but whatever. It's fine. I still think there's, yeah, there's still one more that is somehow missing. There it is!
Get him, get him, get him, get him, get him!
Oh, and it's even my nemesis, Black Bull. Take that! Or Black Shadow, rather. Black Bull is like the name of the vehicle. Black Shadow's the pilot. Yeah. Voiced by Norio Wakamoto in the anime, and probably the only great thing of note from it.
Yeah, I even forget that there was one. It coincided with the GBA games, didn't it?
Yeah, with GP Legend and Climax, the latter of which did not get released in the US, and it's a damn shame because I'd say that is like the best. That is the peak of Mode 7 F-Zero.
Did receive a fan patch though. But,
yeah.
I mean, it's easy enough to play without. So.
Oh, for sure. Like, I played through that game a whole lot even without the patch. I mean, look...
I think there's also a couple of fan patches as well, which add new tracks and courses to the game.
Yeah, stuff like that. I mean, F-Zero X also has a lot of that. Like, there's a lot of, custom track edits. And even, like...
ported a bunch of the features from the DD version.
Yeah. But also, just one thing I want to quickly highlight, just as far as like how hard the comic book style of F-Zero X's aesthetics go. I mean, look at this portrait of Blood Falcon right here.
He has skulls on his knees,
and he has a severed alien head in his hand. Also, because this is the Japanese version, they got away with calling this vehicle the Hellhawk. And here's the X Cup, which is a bonus cup that is unlocked and allows you to race on randomly generated courses.
Yep, infinite tracks.
Yeah, it's basically just having the computer take the track editing software that they had when making the game and just design one automatically. And again, this is just what's on the base card. If we also take into account what the expansion kit had on 64 DD, it's like that alone, I feel, is more than enough to convince anyone, no, this is the best F-Zero game, full stop. Like, gameplay and content-wise. Because I always felt like the story mode was just so stupid in GX. Like I feel like what I would have wanted out of a proper F-Zero story would have been something that's more in-depth than what we got as far as, like, lore and setting and whatnot. and instead it's just a bunch of like really needlessly hard gimmick races.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I want to have a challenge in F-Zero, I would just play the Grand Prix mode on Expert or Master. And it's more fair there instead of the story mode, where the AI literally cheats in specific instances.
Like the Samurai Goro race.
Oh, yeah.
That, if you don't do it, you know, and I mean like precise, on the harder difficulty settings, it is completely impossible.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, the only way to do it is to literally cheat and glitch the game.
Yeah, or just like do absolutely everything you can to stave off of using boosts right until the end and then just dump it all.
Yeah.
And then there's also the
Again,
matter of like Chapter 7 and 8 being massive motherfuckers. Like Chapter 8 has you racing against Deathborn, who even though if you catch up to him and like wreck his vehicle, he just respawns. That's clearly against the rules. You knock out an enemy racer, they are gone. And then Chapter 7 has a bunch of other stuff where like characters who are like specifically antagonistic to Falcon will do everything they can to just like run you off the track. So it's like the only way to actually beat that chapter is to specifically kill them first and then do the race as normal, because it's a nightmare otherwise. But yeah, it's just like all this, but like this meanwhile is more interesting to me. Like Death Race is a cool side mode. You can you got like a randomly generated course cup, which you don't get in time trial obviously because it's meant for GP races.
Yeah.
But I mean, like you got all these like different cups that consist of 6 entire tracks. The differences in playstyle that come from max speed or max acceleration settings, I feel, is like more pronounced and correct for how it should be in F-Zero, because I've dabbled in a lot of the advanced strats between this game and GX. I'm not good at all of them, but I do know that with GX, it's like if you go with max acceleration in that, the only option you have available to you is snaking. And you should only do that if you no longer have human hands, or you don't feel pain. Max acceleration in GX, meanwhile, just gives you all the other cool strats, which is basically like a combination of different things that in X would have been either exclusive to max acceleration or max speed. So that's why I like X a lot more. Like, it feels like there's a lot more incentive to experiment with both sides of the spectrum, rather than be like, well, do I want to preserve like the tendons in my hand or not?
I remember a lot of the tech in GX, for a long time they thought it was only possible in a task run.
Yeah.
Like they were like, yeah, humans shouldn't be able to do this just because it is so precise and you need to do a ton of one-frame tricks in the space of about 20 seconds.
And especially when like a lot of the early high-level stuff that I was seeing even talked about online felt like it was focused exclusively on snaking, which even when I tried that as a kid, I was like, this is terrible. But then it was only years later, particularly, because we keep bringing it up, GDQs, because there have been some F-Zero runs there in the past, that it was
fantastic runs.
Yeah, and like seeing like some of the story mode runs, or like just all GP runs and things like that, where it made it more clear. No, there's a lot more to GX than just pumping acceleration to the max and things like that. You got all these different things like throttling your momentum, going above the speed cap, and all kinds of things like that. And it's like, that made me appreciate GX a bit more, but also made me appreciate X more, because even the stuff exclusive to X is so much more bonkers. Like, we can't do it on this track, obviously, and even if I could, I wouldn't be good enough at it, but there's, like, crazy high-flying shenanigans you can get up to by specifically angling your track in a bizarre way while in midair and just side-attacking to gain, like, upwards of 3,000 kilometers per hour. It is amazing to watch.
Watching the task runs for the game, it just gets stupid.
Yeah.
But it's so funny. Especially if it's someone who really knows how to not just work the game, but work the crowd as well.
Oh, for sure. And when you look at all what this has to offer, is it any wonder that I like this the most, and I'm still bitter that Nintendo refuses to bring this back in favor, as opposed to just doing more Mario Kart every console gen?
Yeah, I mean, this is a racing game. That is at a fundamental level vastly different to a kart game.
Yeah.
Like, yes, they both have cars. Yes, there is racing, but it's a completely different type of racing.
Yeah, it is the kind of racing where it's like, especially by the time X came around, it very much felt like there had to have been developers at Nintendo that were fully aware that Daytona USA existed. Like, they had to have gone to arcades during that time and saw what Sega was doing. Because, I mean, that was
Yeah.
a freaking arcade game at 60 FPS with 40 cars on track. We just played a game that had 30 and was able to maintain 60. So what if the graphics looked primitive? Performance was more important.
I mean, there were games on like the PS3, PS2, and PS3 that didn't give you the feeling of speed that F-Zero X does.
Yeah.
Like, I remember watching one of the Need for Speed games on the PS2, and people going like, "Wow, this is amazing!" And it looks like you are literally crawling along the track.
Yeah.
And those were vastly superior visually to F-Zero X. Like, no question.
So we're now on to Excitebike 64, the Excitebike game that people and time has definitely forgotten.
Yep.
It was a game that was released with the N64 Sports moniker, because that was a thing, whereas like between Nintendo and Sega, there was the feeling, that, especially like on the Western side of things, that you have to have like a dedicated sports label if you're a console manufacturer, because sports games were just becoming more and more of a big thing for a lot of people.
I forget, does this have like a rallycross mode?
Something like that. I know there's stuff like a stunts course, which is just a big dirt arena that you can then like jump and like do stunts and whatever. Now, admittedly, between all of, like the three Extreme Sports Nintendo games, this is the one that I have the least skill or familiarity with, because it's the sort of thing where like you basically have to time your presses of like Z in order to boost, but you also still need to be able to do sharp turns and not crash and all that. It's the sort of thing where, like, just looking at like what it has on display for controls and mechanics, I can see the through line going from this to Excite Truck all the way on Wii. Even though it's like by that point they had gone with completely different developers.
Yeah, again, Excite Truck, another game completely forgotten.
Yeah, it's a shame because it was a very fun launch title. But yeah, and you keep holding Z as long as you need to boost, but not too long because you have a temperature meter, and if that fills up, you'll overheat, and then that's the end of that.
So is it like once you overheat, you're out of the race? Or...
No, it's like you can't boost for a while, and your speed is like severely capped.
Okay, that's not too bad then.
But yeah, it is, and even then, like, even ignoring like obviously this being a through line to eventually Excite Trucks and Excite Bots, you can see as well how this was like, oh, we're taking Excitebike on the NES and making it in 3D. Fantastic finish right there. But it's the sort of thing where it's like, yeah, you got all these hills and whatnot. Like, I swear, I would not be surprised if this was like their prototype test map when they were putting together the mechanics for this game to see if like, did we make a proper Excitebike but in 3D? And I think they did, because it's like when you know how to like manage like your temperature and your boosts, like you're basically able to like go over huge gaps the same way that you could back on the NES game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's really a game that I absolutely need to spend a lot more time on than I have. But that's just because like of all the games that when I ended up getting them for my collection, this was years and years after I had gotten Wave Race and 1080, and had spent way more time with those because that was like the extent of what I remember.
Yeah.
Well, there's the special tracks, which include Desert, a stunt course, and the original Excitebike. Because yes, N64 was good enough to emulate the NES. Go with Selection A. course, like, as you would expect, properly, I'm able to control this with the D-pad.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's Excitebike.
Can't say much more than that.
Yeah, I mean, there's this game, there's the 3D sequel that this is currently being played in, Excite Trucks, Excite Bots. There was even, like, a WiiWare Excitebike, like, World Rally or something that I think it was called, where it was, like, a sort of, like, 2.5D remake, expanded reimagining of the original Excitebike. I never got around to downloading it, and obviously the eShop is down, but I mean, my Wii is modded. I could easily find the WAD file and, like, download and extract it onto the system itself if I want.
Yeah, I can vaguely remember that. There was a whole bunch of games towards the end of the Wii's lifespan that were like, it's that game that you like, but with slightly nicer graphics.
Yeah. It's like, hey, look, it's a proper Kirby game again, after the extremely cute Kirby spin-off where everything is patchwork yarn. Which, admittedly...
Kirby's Epic Yarn?
Yep, Epic Yarn, which, you know, I still greatly appreciate that game. That is, I do not even care that that game is made to be as easy as can be. With something as cute as that, do you really want it to be any harder?
And sometimes you just want a nice, simple, easy game to chill out with.
Yeah. All that stuff. Oh yeah, that's right. This is one of the games that has a high-res mode because we have the expansion pack. Fuck it, let's show that. Let's see how much the frame rate tanks, if any. Or if, like, there's any noticeable difference going into this. Well, we'll just go with, like, a lap or something.
I would find it so funny if it was like, this is high-res mode, and all it does is just make the...
This is what they meant by high-res mode. They just... Oh wait, I think I might know, like, how this is being done, because I think I might have seen it described as such with Perfect Dark's high-res mode. It was like,
yeah.
It was something that was, like, explained on Digital Foundry, but the idea was, like, basically it increases the horizontal line resolution, but not the vertical. So if you were to take, like, what 240p traditionally is, which is like 320 by 240, high-res on N64 would basically be, it's 640 by 240. It's just that when you look at it in Perfect Dark, they're obviously stretching the vertical size to fit the screen. This is more like they might as well be keeping it at like a relatively perfect pixel aspect ratio in that case. So that's why it's basically just a widescreen letterboxed look to it. But I guess it makes sense because it's like performance isn't bad right now, actually.
Looks pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, I still don't know if I would necessarily play it this way, just because it's like, if I wanted to play this in widescreen or a game with like widescreen, I wouldn't be settling on letterbox. I would actually output it to my main monitors like everyone else has already. But
yeah,
it's a CRT and whatever. It's a shame that I am not lucky enough to just find like a widescreen or HD CRT lying around. But then again, I don't have any more room in my current space. I'd basically need my own house just to set this shit up.
I mean, you're talking to a guy who one of the main reasons that he moved was simply because I'd run out of space for all my cool shit. So
yeah,
preaching to the perverted here, buddy.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's Excitebike 64. You know, little underrated gem. Definitely need to play more of it on my own time, but it still plays well. Takes some getting used to. Let's see. What do we got next? Yeah, why not? Let's Oh, hold on. Yeah, I'm surprised that we went this far without without getting a cart that was gonna be kind of finicky. But what the hell? Why is Mario Golf not doing this? Actually, you know what? Fuck that. I'm not gonna play Mario Golf. I want to play tennis anyway. But before that, please. What the hell's going on? I'm surprised it took this long because some of the carts that I was showing, like, I may mention this before, like some of these damn carts the ones that I ordered from Japan recently, they've been very finicky as far as like how to like get them to actually like boot.
Yeah, I saw on Twitter you were saying that you'd been having problems with some of them that they. Wasn't it one of them really needed a good deep clean?
Yeah, that was Mario Kart 64, and it's still not working on me now. Like, that is weird. You know what? I'm just gonna. If we have time, I think we'll come back to them later. But I'm just gonna keep going with some of the other carts because I know that the ones that I've owned for a while, prior to these recent imports, I know that they're at least bound to work. At least I hope so. Unless. Okay, what in the fucking hell? I feel like something's going on, maybe now with the connector or something. This is. Ugh. Yeah, this
How are we
has to be
doing,
something
chat?
with,
Are we
like-
having a good day?
Yeah, just with the maybe the AV cables or something. I don't even fucking know. Just a sec.
Have you tried one of the games that we've already played before?
Well, that one still works.
Okay.
I think, but
Hello.
we're not playing that right now. Is the thing.
Right.
I'm trying to get one of these. I feel like it might have been. Okay, now that works. I think it. Okay, you know, actually, what I think this might be, like an extra sign that I desperately need to replace my fucking S-video cables. Because, because I do think it's been confusing when testing these carts, now that I look back on it, in that it's been a mix of either the contacts are just not connecting properly, or it's something with, like, my AV cable just not outputting correctly. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a funny thing that happened when I was doing, like, test stuff this past, this weekend, just to make sure that I had everything set up ideally for this stream. And somehow, when I was trying to plug in my S-video cable back into, like, into the distribution amplifier that I use that splits the console to the CRT and the RetroTink, I was getting, like, weird glitched, corrupted, like, video feed, and I was like, what is going on? And then I pulled out the S-video cable, and for some reason, because I wasn't doing a careful enough job of plugging it in, 2 of the pins inside the connector got bent and smushed together. And I had to take, like, a pair of tweezers to, like, separate them out so that they would fit into each of the holes again. And fortunately, that fixed it. But I think it's like this cable is just starting to die on me, I guess, as it were.
Yeah. You definitely got lucky with that one.
Yeah, but again, we're skipping Mario Golf. I at least want to show off just a little bit of Pokemon Snap because, again, this is kind of an important game to me. This was the first game, along with Yoshi's Story, that I ever owned.
Have you played it again since you picked it up?
This game?
Yeah.
Yeah, but like not like as a new game. Because I'm pretty sure starting a new game will erase your current progress. And this was one of those cards where when I got it, it was clear that the person that owned it had already like done everything. Like all the levels, all of like the Pokemon album filled out and things like that. Good old fat Pikachu. How I missed him.
Fat Pikachu was always the better one.
Yeah, it's how could you not love that chunky boy? Can speed up and all that.
So soft, so large.
Large like the Snorlax. Just trying to do something to wake him up ever so slightly. But yeah, just like this is such like a fun, charming game, obviously, because it's like, as far as like a Pokemon spin-off goes, having like an on-rails photography game is certainly something. And even just the way that they set up all these models to move and interact, like kind of tells its own story in a way, you know? Like if there's one thing that's common going through this is the Meowth that's on throughout the stage and tries to like harass some of the Pidgeys. And then it turns around on him right at the end. I forgot how to get that Scyther to like come out of the grass. I thought it was just pelting him with like apples or like pester balls, but I don't know. Again, it's been a while. I'd have to obviously look up like walkthroughs and whatever just to remind myself on like what all the secret stuff is that I need to do, because like figuring that stuff out on your own without game facts or anything on the internet was definitely like a trial, to say the least.
Oh yeah.
But I mean,
I
like,
used to get various magazines back in the day that had walkthroughs and cheats for games, because otherwise it was like some of the stuff you just weren't finding out.
yeah. But I mean, like, again, like for like a 7-year-old kid like me at the time, it was like that was a good way to like get your money's worth out of that at least. I mean, like, and my parents like, you know, were supportive and interested enough to like, because it's a simple enough game, you know, you're on a rail, you just have to take pictures. Like, I remember like a story that like I didn't realize my mom had like did this when we had the game, but when I told her about it, yeah, I was playing this game again, like I think it was on the Wii Virtual Console, which would have been, I think, like, when it got on there, it was, like, a whole decade after this game originally came out. And just talking about, like, the game again with her is, like, she went, you know, you probably don't remember this, but whenever you went to bed, like, I actually turned on the game and just tried playing through some of, like, the early levels to take pictures. And I was like, oh, that's neat. But obviously, like, she also wasn't figuring out on her own, like, the secrets to, like, unlocking the later levels and stuff like that, for sure.
Yeah.
But it was a neat thing just to kind of learn that after the fact, and it's like, oh yeah, that's nice. It's nice to know that on occasion, this hobby of mine that feels exclusively mine in this household sometimes reaches out. So yeah, we got all like these pictures or whatever. They're not as good as the ones that are on the left, which are like the best versions of pictures from that for that particular Pokemon. Yeah, I guess that's like enough of like a good demonstration, really. I mean, we could definitely look at the oh yeah, Japanese Professor Oak voice.
Japanese Professor Oak, who sounds like a crazy homeless man.
Sounds like Muramasa in Ninja Gaiden when he's welcoming you to your shop. Irashai!
Like I said, crazy homeless man.
Crazy homeless man who might be like a god.
Well, all the best crazy homeless men think they're god.
True. I mean, as long as they provide something of value, I think that's enough. Yeah, that's cool. But now, this is one where this is a game known for its single player, but I can at least show off like an extra mode that fits with like the bite-sized approach that we're taking with this stream here. We got Hybrid Heaven.
Yeah, this is a game that definitely needs a proper full playthrough of, because there's a lot going on in this one.
True, but I do worry that in the case of this game, that even a full playthrough might be a bit boring at times, because outside of the combat, it is very nothing.
Yeah, there is a lot of climbing ladders, pushing boxes, climbing down ladders.
Clunky shooting of laser guns.
Yeah.
So let's do Creature Battle, which just lets us go straight into the best part of the game. And yes, that U right there means I played this game and saved the clear data on the highest difficulty. Nice. Ultimate difficulty is not for the faint of heart. It is very punishing. So we'll just do like a quick 5 matches with this rule set, but it's fine because this is my endgame character from that. So the idea is that you have that power meter and you want it to fill up as much as you can before you do an attack. And also, I still remember my old tricks for making sure that I can avoid getting hit as much as possible. Because I think the way I've described this, I even did like a write-up on my website back when I had like that retro game write-ups thing that I've still not gone back to for whatever reason. That habit just fell out of me super hard. But
Yeah.
this is one of the earliest games I like wrote about on that, and it was basically just my deep dive into like what made the combat stand out. And the sort of thing that made me break it down, both in its like the things it does well and what it's bad at, is like the things you could do offensively with attacks and throws and other techniques are great. Oh, here it comes. Brain Buster!
Go! By God!
But while like you have great offensive tools, the actual like intended defensive options that it gives you are terrible. Like what I'm doing here is the actual best defensive option. It's like because you have like different levels of like slow movement, like a short step or like a long step, depending on how hard you push the analog stick. And if you time a long step away, that basically counts as causing enemies to still whiff their attacks, because they don't pull like a Dark Souls 2 or like other FromSoft games where it's like if they go in for an attack, they have an abnormally large hitbox that just magnetizes them to you when they get off the attack. It's like, no, if they activate it and you are not in touching range, they will whiff. And it's a lot better than letting them grab you and having to take a dice roll on like trying to guard break or take a fall or reverse it. It sucks to play by those rules is the thing.
Yeah.
You got set combos you can do, although he was already nearly dead at that time. And you can still kind of level up during this mode, even though I'm pretty sure once you complete it, it doesn't save or anything. Or maybe it does give you the option to save, I forget. It's the sort of thing where it's not just something that's only allowed if you have clear data. Like any save data from any difficulty level and where your character is leveled up to, you can carry that over into creature mode, like creature fight. And then that'll let you fight whatever enemy types are available based on where you fought them in the game.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. So I think the idea is that, yeah, that's supposed to be like an alternate method if you want to try and like level up your character without being reliant on going through the story, because there's very little, if any, in the way of like random encounters or respawning enemies. It's like they try to have like a very specific amount to work with. Oh, here. Okay. Oh, fuck.
Oh, wow. You got wrecked.
Yeah, that was definitely rough, but...
So, does your health get reset between fights, or...?
No. You have to rely on, like, health item, refresh items that sometimes are dropped from, like, these fights that you beat, but otherwise it's like, yeah, good luck trying to get through without taking too much damage, especially when this is still ultimate mode. Because a thing with how this game handles like its RPG systems is like you increase your defense and even learn new moves by getting beat up by enemies, which becomes kind of a nightmare to deal with on ultimate, because very early on they have the potential to kill you really quickly. I'm just doing set combos as is to kind of get through this quickly. It's a good thing I settled on just like the 5-man fight as opposed to survival, which, if you're using clear data, that basically puts you against every enemy and boss type. Oh god, this one's a bastard.
Invisibility or teleportation?
Invisibility. Like, the camera, the way it's moving is still locking onto him, even though he's not visible. Right. But it's very difficult to tell how close he is the thing. And I'm trying to just keep myself moving backwards and far enough while making sure that like my power meter refills up, because if I do like these big steps, the meter recharges slowly. But if I'm standing still or doing the small steps, that gives you the most benefits. Oh, okay. Well, I'm not going to get entirely the full combo, but this is close enough. This track is good, though. Like, this is one that definitely is meant to play during the bosses.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, like, the only good defensive option that it gives you from the menu is step. And even then, that's only if you're already far enough away that your step isn't going to just get punished. Again, it's the sort of thing where it's like, it feels bizarre that when going on the offensive, even though it's turn-based, it's clearly designed to reward you based on positioning and hard numbers based on, like, how big your power meter is. But the defense options are entirely dice rolls, and that just feels like useless bullshit. It's not worth it at all trying to, like, keep taking attacks and damage from enemies in the hopes of boosting those defense skills. Actually, let's do, like, a quick edit. So you can see all, like, the different moves I have to select from. Like upper and mid punches, hooks, uppercuts. Let's just rapid hit this motherfucker in the gut.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, nothing but uppercuts.
Oh!
Just pretend we're playing Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. Uppercut until I see 3 dozen ribs. Oh, look at that. Because, like, and you're also seeing it as well, like, his leg is kind of glowing. Like, those are basically status debuffs that apply to both the enemies and you. If you get hit in the legs, it affects your speed. If you get hit in the arms and they're sore, they're not going to do as much damage. If you get hit in the head, it basically, that's if you get hit by, like, an especially powerful knockdown attack, and you'll have a hard time being able to get back up.
Yeah.
Alright. There we go. Yeah, that's the fun part of custom combos, and that's something that doesn't really get introduced until quite a ways in, actually. So it feels especially rewarding, like, when it's like, okay, you gotten used to the basics, now the game is giving you more of the real shit to mess around with. And it's like,
yeah.
This is such a cool system that deserves to be in any game other than this.
I know I made the comparison to Vagrant Story earlier, but also Legend of Legaia, if you ever played that.
Not played it, definitely heard of it, though. I think I might die. Or, oh, shoot. Oh, wait, no, Guard was actually doing it that time. Thank God.
It's a RPG where rather than, you know, just normally attack, like going, attack A, enemy B, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You can set up combos of punches, kicks, special attacks, that sort of thing. And it's kind of set up like this in that you go left punch, right punch, low kick, high kick, blah, blah, blah. And depending on how you set it up, you can pull off special attacks. The thing is, all the characters, I've only played the first game, so I can't speak to the second one, but all the characters are hand-to-hand combatants. It's really weird for a game like this.
Well, I'm dead. Like I said, ultimate mode is real freaking hard. I still need to go back through this and, like, make, like, a save clear data on just the normal difficulty so I can compare and contrast again to what that's like. But then again, if I do that, that'll probably be like a stream playthrough or something.
Yeah.
Now then, I think we've all wanted to see this. Like, what I dumped $180 into.
Sin and Punishment.
No, that was a Christmas gift back in 2012, and my parents only had to pay $60 for that. And that was with the box and everything. Like, that was 2012, 10 years ago. Game prices, such a different beast back then.
Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah. Hell, I want to say, like, even back in 2012, I remember just loose copies of Bangai for N64 were only $100. Like, that's how bad it's gotten.
I remember a friend of mine going to Japan for summer. I think he had like a couple of friends over there, and he was saying that he was planning on hitting up every single game store that he possibly could for retro games. And he was saying, like, Bangayo and Radiant Silvergun were the two games that you saw in every store.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all the same price.
Yeah, because they know.
Like, it was like the yardstick by which you measured everything by.
Yeah.
And the more copies of Bangayo and Radiant Silvergun they had, the better the store was. It was like the weirdest dick measuring contest I've ever heard of.
For sure. This is a very choice piece of music for this opening, but I think it's also very fitting with how, obviously, kind of, this opening, like, video, I guess, if you can call it that, was always pretty kooky.
Yeah, Bangayo is a weird game.
Yeah. And,
I mean,
as you may remember, all the way back in January when we did that Dreamcast grab bag, we already showed this game. The Dreamcast port, which was obviously a very different thing. But obviously, as you can see right here, the main benefit I still point to with this game is that you can basically play it as close to like a comfortable feeling twin stick shooter as you can, because I am moving with the D-pad and shooting with the analog stick.
Yeah, I think we generally agreed that the Dreamcast version was a lot easier than the N64 original.
Yeah, it was definitely designed to like speed up and streamline like some of the specific mechanics that with this game I think were meant more to provide like a slow build-up of sorts. Because one thing that's different in the Dreamcast version, if you play that and compare with this, is that your starting weapon power in the Dreamcast version is a lot stronger. But the way they compensate for it is something that's not easy to show off really in this particular level, but there's another one later on that I will absolutely show that exemplifies it. But they have systems in place that are designed to let you increase your weapon's powers over time, and it's tied exclusively to like how good you are at causing combos. But this is just to kind of show as well, like, just this is the same first level that we had in the Dreamcast game, you know? Like for as big as the mechanical differences were, the levels, aside from one in the game, were largely unchanged. Ah, Sabu. Come on, get over here. There it is, plus 40. Oh, yeah, look at those missiles. They're continuing to swarm after his corpse.
So good.
So this is what happens when you complete a stage, but you did not beat its high score. Ultraman is defeated this day. Don't worry, he can get up there again.
The children do not sing.
Yeah. So, obviously, people had played this copy a lot by the time I got it. You know, there's all these other high scores that are already on here. Some of these are even 0, because I think this game also had like a feature where like if you failed enough times on like a stage or whatever, the game would give you a free pass and be like, all right, you can continue on, I guess.
Pity mode.
Yeah. The later Bangayo games, well, like Missile Fury on Xbox Live Arcade for the 360, it definitely does that. I recall seeing that happen because you die a lot on those stages. But this is the stage I want to show off because obviously it's way later than where we showed the Dreamcast version. But this is the best example to talk about like what the difference in gameplay flow is.
The small stages were always memorable.
Yeah.
In the Dreamcast version.
Look at that combo count. And then we go into this vortex. Oba-chan is here to give us our choice of what to upgrade. Shot damage, shot penetration, extra life, or a 10,000 point score bonus. We are going to upgrade
penetration.
Yeah, upgrade our penetration and damage as much as we can. That is the idea. Oh, but we got an extra one that just popped up as well. Like, this is one of those levels that is so easy to stack. I love it.
Yeah.
And, like, you even see it as well, like, the invincibility power-ups, the one that has, like, the V on the box, you know, that's obviously been a staple of the Bangai-O games, you know? You have, like, an invincibility power-up that, in true Blue Comet SPT Lasner fashion, you just become, like, a raging, hypermagnetic, like, electrical ball that just goes through everything. And obviously, getting these boxes are like the best way to like clear out these obstacles.
Yeah, like I said, any of the very small the stages that start off small, at least, usually wind up being some of the most difficult and crazy ones to just pull stuff off in.
Yeah, but it's still so fun all the same.
Yeah.
Because it's the sort of thing where it's like, I know there's definitely people when it comes to treasure games, especially on the topic of their sequels, that there are some that still really like the original Bangai-O, be it the N64 version or Dreamcast. But this might also be a case of recency bias for me, considering like what I played first in the series. But I think the puzzly aspect of stuff like Bangai-O Spirits and HD Missile Fury is like a better suited thing to the series compared to what this had at the start, where it feels like they try and give you the sense that you have like more traditional, like just run and gun levels, as it were, like actual levels and not like bizarre combat puzzles. But I think it makes more sense to have like the puzzly nature in Bangai-O, because this is a game where you can die so quickly and so often.
Yeah, definitely with Spirits on the DS, it definitely felt like it leaned more into the puzzle aspect of things.
And it's like, it was very hard, as you would expect, but it also made it that much more rewarding that when I was able to like actually beat all of the levels in Spirits and being like, I cannot believe I did that. It was fantastic. And like the first time I did it, it was on a rental copy, and when I had to like give that back, I was like, well, I guess I won't see that again. But then I bought a physical copy later, and I was still able to 100% complete it again. So that felt very nice. That said, HD Missile Fury on 360, that is still the best. Like, admittedly, as it has the most budget feel of any of these games, admittedly, but I think it also works to its benefit of highlighting that, yeah, these are games where you care about like the mechanics and seeing like how those get iterated on and improved over time. So I want to see if get to like the bottom left corner or so. Yeah, it's a bit tricky, obviously, trying to get through this. Oh yeah, I also should mention as well, like a thing that's another core difference with your special attacks. You actually have a proper charge up in this, unlike in the Dreamcast game, where you can basically tap it and get off like a set number of volleys of missiles, but however much you got was dependent on like if they if there were other projectiles that were in close range at the time. Which, like, I get the reason behind that, but I think it also says a lot that Spirits and Missile Fury went back to the idea of, no, you need the charge-up time. Like, because that's what makes all of, like, the big missiles worth it. You just have the charge-up time combined with the extra missiles that come as a result of letting off the button at the exact moment when a bunch of projectiles are going to swarm all over you.
Yeah, I can't speak for the other versions, but the Dreamcast one, it was really easy to get like full volleys just by positioning yourself just right between two missiles.
Definitely.
Kind of felt like it took some of the challenge of positioning out of it. But
a
on
little
the other
bit.
hand,
They wanted to make it more reactionary, was how I always looked at it.
Yeah. But on the other hand, you know, wow, 5 bajillion missiles filling the screen. This is awesome.
Yeah, and it's also the sort of thing where, like, again, like, I've been doing all this upgrading to, like, shot damage and penetration. Like, we're already at 18 for both. Like, and this will be, like, very useful when it comes time to us, like, getting around to the boss fight, obviously. because it's like, as mentioned before, you wouldn't have this option in the Dreamcast version because they just buffed the attack damage and penetration on these projectiles to begin with, you know?
Yeah, I was like, hang on a minute, I was sitting there thinking, wait, I don't remember leveling up.
Yeah. But then, of course, there's also the detail of, like, you could also go through these levels without increasing your damage and just get the score bonus if you so desired. Like, if you're that much of a pro, that it's like, I don't need any extra help. I'm good.
Power? I have all the power I need inside.
Yeah. I am Virgil. Give me more power.
Yeah. The power. Alright, Graph.
Alright, so we already triggered the boss before we got rid of, like, the projectiles, but this is, Oh! Oh! Yep.
Ooh. Feel the slowdown.
Look at that combo as well. Oh, yeah, that was good. He even had his own special meter because, yeah, that is our rival. I'm more, anyone that's played Spirits will probably be more familiar with it, but the name of the enemy being Longaio. It should be one that, like, instills fear in players' hearts. Because it's like, they do the same stuff you do. That means they also can break the game speed.
Yeah.
Have fun. But, yeah, that's...
Any other game, the game chugging like a cottage cheese smoothie would be a bad thing, but in this, it's like, nope. This shows how powerful I am.
It is the ultimate badge of honor that this game has, that this franchise has. Like, they find ways to do it across multiple games. Like, even on the DS, which had, like, a lot bigger technical limitations to deal with, and they were still like, nah, we'll go with it. We just won't render all the missiles if it needs to. But they'll still be there and do damage. And it's like, that is hilariously jank and irresponsible, but since you are Treasure and not any other developer, I approve of this. Ah, there it is. The other rare FPS.
I remember when we played this back in the day, we had to, whenever we were setting up custom matches, we always had to ban, was it the Farsight?
Yeah, Farsight. The laser sniper rifle that can go through walls.
Yeah,
that ship was busted.
We had to ban that because one guy that we played with would always make a beeline right for it and then just sit in the corner and laugh his ass off.
Like, GoldenEye had Oddjob. Perfect Dark had Farsight. They traded in a character which admittedly is not as bad because people back then just could not be bothered to aim down. But then they traded that in for a weapon that was legitimately broken.
Yeah. Like I said, we had one friend that would always do that, so, fuck you, Dwayne.
Yeah.
He would always try and play Oddjob or Jaws as well.
Yeah. I just having the mantra of fuck you, I'm here to win.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
No, we are not doing that.
Yeah.
We actually want to try and have, I want to try and have some fun.
So remember when we were showing off GoldenEye earlier, obviously, and talking about the significance of when it came out in the context of console shooters. And then we're 3 years later and just look at, like, how much more advanced, like, this game was as a follow-up to that.
Yeah, there's, like, actual camera pans and zooms and sweeps and dimensions and direction.
Voice acting.
Yep.
Very, very British voice acting.
See, that's the thing. Being from the UK, I'm so used to hearing American voice actors in games. Whenever I hear someone with a recognizable accent from my neck of the woods, it just completely takes me out of it.
Thinking about it more, I'm pretty sure probably, like, the biggest benefit to, like, being a fan of Rare if you happen to be in the UK, besides the fact of, being in the same country as them, was probably the fact just because you were all adhering to the PAL standards at the time, and when most Japanese developers didn't give a shit about actually adjusting game speed to properly fit, like, the refresh rates, like, Rare naturally would have had to be the kind of company that's like, hold on, this is our country, we're operating on a standard different than North America and Japan, let's actually do this right. Let's actually make proper 50 hertz.
Yeah, there was definitely a feeling that Rare were probably about the only company that cared about gamers in the UK at the time.
Yeah.
To a lesser extent as well, Konami, but that was really only with Hideo Kojima's games.
Yeah, because they were like, oh, sorry we had to keep you waiting for 6 months. Here's European Extreme.
Yeah. Oh, and Square as well, because we would always because we were the last ones to get any of their games.
Right, yeah.
Assuming we got any of them at all. Because, we missed out on a hell of a lot of good games. The ones that we got were inevitably the Ultimate Editions, for lack of a better term.
Right, yeah. But yeah, this opening level is definitely like quite a classic, just going through it. Because, yeah, still same aiming and all that stuff. You got reload animations now. You got
more elaborate death animations.
Oh, yeah, they were proud of the fact that they were able to motion cap and cram in as many of these things as they could. Some of them were sadistic. Some of them were funny. Like, if you managed to sneak up on someone and shoot them in the ass, they just had this yipe-like animation of them just clenching their cheeks. It was real
right
good.
On Main Street.
And they even do things to kind of, like, ease in the idea of, like, yeah, you have these different objectives, and to help you keep track, you got Carrington kind of reminding you, okay, you're on the same floor as this other person that you need to do something with an objective for. So we have to pistol whip a corporate exec.
Who are you and what are you doing here?
Look out! She's got a gun!
You won't shoot me, foolish child.
You're right.
Do you know who I am?
I'll do this instead.
Please don't kill me!
Yeah, the few times I played this, I always waited until she did the old "Don't you know who I am?"
Yeah.
Then I gave her both barrels.
and then failed the objective, obviously.
Metaphorical both barrels.
Yeah.
Maybe realizing I should have been a bit.
Yeah. But no, I just like doing it after that because of the you won't shoot me, girl. And I'm like, you're right. Whap. That's just the best part. Oh yeah, and here we go with Datadyne's trusty submachine gun, which has one of the best, most handy alt fires ever, the follow lock on.
Get her.
Just do that, and then you don't even have to do any like proper aiming anymore. It just automatically tracks.
Makes it really useful if you're planning on speedrunning a level.
Yeah. Also, that dude just dropped his gun because I think a stray bullet actually shot it out of his hand. That was another one of like those funny like extra details they added to this that wasn't in GoldenEye. Just the idea that you could disarm enemies and then they would freak out and just react differently. They'd either run away, maybe they'd run away to like pick up another gun if they could find it. Like it was nuts.
Game magazines back in the N64 PS1 era. In the UK, wasn't really a thing in the States from what I saw. They would have people send in suggestions for challenges that you could do.
Yeah.
So it'd be like two-player GoldenEye, where one person would have the controller, but their back would be to the screen, and the other person would have to explain how to get through the level.
Yeah.
So it'd be like, yep, aim, left a bit, there you go, shoot. Oh no, left, other left. And one of the more popular ones was shooting the guns out of everyone's hands in Perfect Dark.
Yeah.
And then seeing how long you could go with a bunch of really pissed off guards trying to slap you in the face.
Mm-hmm. Just all kinds of like fun extra interactions you can do like with these enemies and how they react.
Mm.
And of course, obviously, like even when you're doing all this stuff, yeah, like when you're doing the fine aiming, you're not going to be able to, like move and fine aim at the same time. You have to stand in place, which admittedly, the Time Splitter series solved that because they had two analog sticks and we're like, we'll keep the same style of like analog gaming we had in GoldenEye. We're just going to allow you to move and do that at the same time. I mean, look at that. We even have like a pseudo weapon wheel, as it were, if you could call it that. Just just so many extra things that are very appreciated about this. And it's only a shame that despite all these advances, it runs worse. And it's using an expansion pack to give it, like, double the memory.
I mean, Perfect Dark is, I would say, easily the better game.
Yeah.
But it still lives in the shadow of GoldenEye because it's the one that everyone played.
Yeah, it was first, and making that big of a first impression was important. And it's the sort of thing where, like, yeah, this is still, like, a great game, and I think, like, there's extra proof of that. Excuse me, if you were to play the XBLA version, for instance, like that port job, because it's like, hey, here's all, like, the design of the game exactly kept intact. We just gave it, like, a new coat of paint and a stable frame rate. Cool. That's all you need. Admittedly, they kind of took a bit of creative liberties with, like, how they redesigned some of the textures and characters. But, I mean, like, if all you really cared about was wanting a game that doesn't run like ass, like, that's the one.
Remember, they had to redo some of the characters because every enemy in the game is scanned face from one of the folks that worked at Rare at the time.
Yeah, it was, and even some extra people. Like, I think they even got, like, a character, like, face scan of Miyamoto at the time.
Yeah.
And Matt Casamassina, for some reason, I guess, I don't know, because they wanted to, like, give enough lip service to, like online publications that were willing to be, like, console exclusive.
Yeah. So the people that no longer worked at Rare, for example, they couldn't use their faces anymore.
Yeah, pretty much. Which, again, I guess that makes it the actual best version to play this game, then. Isn't even the XBLA version. It's actually playing it on emulator through the 1964 modified version of that emulator that's specifically made to give, like, a whole lot of, like, performance boost to both GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, and allowing all kinds of crazy hacks, like playing with mouse and keyboard, having higher FOV, even higher frame rates, I think. Although maybe they still cap it at 60 because this game's old enough that it probably would freak out if you were to boost it to 120.
You just melt through the air score if you try to play at a faster or higher frame speed.
Yeah. But it's like, I mean, that still feels fun to play. There's an inherent joy that comes from, like, how all, like, these mechanics and stuff work. It's just, yeah. There's a reason, obviously, if you look at, like, the mission select screen, there's a reason that I don't have every mission unlocked and completed on all difficulties. Because when the idea came that I wanted to do this was well after I had already done that for GoldenEye, and just enough time passed that it was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Like, if I ever do a Perfect Agent playthrough, I am definitely just gonna... I'm just gonna accept the fact that I'm just gonna have to do that on emulator to make it comfortable. Now let's get an actual Mario sports game up in here.
Tennis.
Yep. One thing that's always, like, appreciated about, like, these Mario sports games that Camelot made, at least, like, back then, I don't know if any of the recent ones they did on Switch included it, but, like, these, like, elaborate opening cutscenes when you boot the game up that got even more crazy once you got to the GameCube, and then you have, like, Mario Power Tennis, where, like, it's an opening CG, like, animated short that goes for 5 minutes.
I thought Birdo was in this. Wasn't this the first appearance of Waluigi?
Yes, it is. Everyone's favorite / unfavorite Mario character.
Well, naturally, you have to play either him or Birdo.
Well, this is the Japanese version, so I think you mean Catherine.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah. It's so funny playing through this because it's like... Because I guess it's something that never occurred to me until I got this copy and was playing through it. But Charles Martinet is doing the Mario voice where he's calling out, like, the score and, like, character names, you know, because there's a Mario model that acts as the ref. Or if that's what you call him, or if he goes by something else in tennis. The one that sits, like, on the sides, like, right next to the net.
Umpire,
yeah. That's what it was. Yeah, so it's Charles Martinet. It's like, not only saying the names of these characters, but also saying the names that are specific to the Japanese version. And for some reason, I just never put two and two together that they would have made him actually have to read those for all the regions. But I guess it makes sense that they would. So just hearing him in a Mario voice say, Catherine, and I'm like, what? Who's this? And there's also, of course, the paratrooper, you know, he's called Pata Pata. Toad's Kinopio. Boo is Teresa. And I think that's pretty much it.
Kind of reminds me of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, because Vin Diesel voices Groot in all regions.
Yeah.
So just picture him for the French movies saying, Je suis Groot.
Oh, yeah. And in true Camelot fashion, these videos always have to end in an explosion.
Everyone fucking died. The end.
Yeah. For real, though, it's like, if you haven't seen it in a while, if at all, look up the opening video for Mario Power Tennis. It is a delight. I look at that thing these days, and I'm like, why would I pay money to see a 3D Mario movie made by Illumination? I'd rather have a bunch of shorts like these.
At least we know Mario won't be voiced by Chris Pratt in those.
True. In fact, you're going to have Charles Martinet voicing at least 4 people. Because these fucks are going to be in it at the same time. That's the other thing with those opening videos when they got to the GameCube. Is like, Camelot just used it as a point to, like, just flex on the idea of, you know what? Like, this isn't just an opening movie for a video game. We're just going to have this be, like, a short of these two impish assholes getting up into shenanigans and eating shit for it.
And by the way, Nintendo, we can do better videos, we can do better movies than you.
I figure I might as well just go through, like, one tournament. Because, like, the Mushroom Cup is very quick to get through, and the AI is super easy. Look at that!
Wow,
Service
no
ace,
kidding.
right out the gate.
I
Ow.
was actually thinking earlier, I have not played a tennis game since Anna Kournikova's Smash Court on the PS1.
Really? Like, not even any of the later Virtua Tennises or things like that?
Nope. To be honest, the only reason I played that one was because I remember reviews of Smash Court Tennis, the original, being like, this is a really good, really fun, simple tennis game.
Oh, right. Shy Guy isn't called Shy Guy in this. He's called Hey Ho. Which is weird, but I guess that's also because it's supposed to be reminiscent of, like, the sound that they make.
Yeah.
Yeah, so such weird alternate names compared to what we're normally used to in the rest of the world. I mean, I mean, it's still extra silly. I think nothing gets me more, though, than Boo being called Teresa. Which I think, when the whole Bowsette craze was taking off a few years ago, and everyone just started putting the super crown on everything, I guess Teresa-chan started to make more sense.
See, I don't remember Teresa-chan. I do remember Bouette.
Yeah, Bouette, like, yeah, that I guess that's because, like, if you ever looked at Pixiv tags for a Boo, for Boozette, it was always, like, using Teresa. Because, I mean, that's obviously already a feminine name.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. God, what a glorious time that was.
That period when the internet was just, hey, let's take this thing and make it a cute girl.
Yeah.
That
It's like
was
one of the
wild.
few times where I was totally fine with that, especially in the context of Mario. And probably just because the way it started was so innocuous, but it took off, not like even in the creator's own original circle, it took off specifically in Japan. And just like the wave of like Japanese artists like trying to put together like English messages for the guy when he felt like he was getting overwhelmed by the response, that like, no, we really appreciate that you made this thing for us. You gave us new art material for the next few months.
And then 4 months later, it's like, why is the internet making me want to fuck a black hole?
Yeah.
This is getting weird, and I'm not sure if I like it.
Yeah. Just it's obviously just fun enough as is when it's like Bowser's ultimate revenge on Mario beating him and saving Princess Peach, as he's going to become the princess and just cuck Peach instead.
There was a hole that I saw where, that basically happened, where it was like, yes, Bowser is now the princess, so Princess Peach eats some kind of spiky fruit and becomes a Bowser.
Yeah.
And kidnaps her. And Mario's just standing there like, I have no idea what the fuck just happened.
Yeah. And then, of course, you have Boo becoming Boozette to, create, a very difficult situation for Luigi, who has a phobia of this paranormal. And now there's this, and now there's this cute ghost girl, and he's like, what do?
I forget, was that before or after Omelette, the Sonic equivalent, which was meant to be Eggman's daughter?
I think that was before. I want to say I recall Omelette being, a bit later. Well, I don't know, actually. I forget. Again, because of how the last 5 years...
the same time.
Because of how the last 5 years have been, it just feels like my sense of, when specific things happened has gotten so, mixed around all over the place.
Everything's just blurred together. But I remember they were roughly the same time.
Yeah. I felt like it had to have been spurred on a bit because of Sonic Mania.
Yeah, that's where it originally came from. Because one of the bosses was a spider. And with Eggman in the thorax cockpit.
Yeah.
But when he was upside down, he looked like a cute girl with spiky hair.
Yeah.
Instead of his moustache. Which is where... So they were like, okay, Robotnik, no. Robotnikette, no. Egg-L, no, we can go.
Egg Girl?
Omelette.
Yeah, Omelette. that works.
Yeah, well, it was the original name that people came up with for her was Egg-L.
Yeah, that just sounds weird.
And then someone went Omelette, and it was like, that's perfect.
Yeah, that's real good.
It's a good pun. It works.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just... I got just thinking again about the whole dynamic of just people's interpretations of what it would be like with Bowser and Boo at just trying to fuck up those character dynamics by getting the way of Mario and Luigi, and I'm just I feel like with how extremely tough Daisy has proven to be, she probably would not have stood for freaking Booette just showing up for a minute.
Then Rosalina's just in the sidelines going, I have no idea what's going on, but everyone seems so invested.
Yeah, if she's just I don't get what's so important about this. I have my weird star children to take care of in this observatory / orphanage / spaceship.
Yeah, all the little star bits are just dancing around, this is fun.
She's too busy being a single mom to actually give a shit about being caught in the middle between two princesses.
Well, as long as no one's getting killed, I guess it's okay.
Yeah. And if something bad happens, she could just reboot the universe like she does at the end of Galaxy 1.
Yeah.
Somehow, still more mental of a concept to me than the entirety of Mario Sunshine's plot.
Mario Sunshine is, it's its own thing.
Hey Mario, remember that time you went on vacation and then you got put on a kangaroo court and had to do public service to pay off your sentence?
Remember that time the girl the princess that you're in love with thought that she'd given birth to a very scaly child?
Yeah, that scene was very concerning when, not even, Peach's reaction implied that she was going, no. I don't remember you.
You'd think that I would remember that, but no. Instead, she's like, well, could be.
Well, considering her demeanor and voice and just how, she probably sounds like she's consistently high on Valium, then, I guess it would be no surprise that she'd forget.
Yeah, she's just like, everything is lovely.
Yep. I'm surrounded by midgets with mushrooms on their heads. Wait, those are their heads. Fuck.
I haven't eaten anything that doesn't contain psychotropics in 32 years.
No, 25 years, because everyone in the Mario universe is perpetually 25.
Fair
Mario's
point.
always 25 years old. He's a professional 25 years old. He's been
Wow,
25 for 35 years.
Okay, so he's 25, but he looks like he's in his mid-40s. How many drugs did he do as a kid? That's a hard 25, I'm telling you.
Clearly, Captain Lou Albano would not have approved of that. Drugs are bad, and if you do drugs, you'll go to hell. Still cannot believe that they fucking aired that PSA on a children's cartoon show.
Man,
Freaking
the
getting
80s,
away with that shit just because it's like, dude, we got Captain Lou Albano. The kids love him. They'll listen to anything he has to say. Oh, God.
The kids love Captain Lou Albano. Hi, yes, I'm basically a hairy midget in his 40s. Where are the kids? Oh, God, no.
Yeah, and then, yeah, just... Oh, God.
Mistakes have been made.
Oh, God. Speaking of the Super Show again, it's like I just was reminded of like a piece of art on Twitter that I remember seeing that was just absolutely hilarious because it was just like a redraw of a scene from the live action sections of the Super Show, but made to look exactly like, you know, like the standard Nintendo 2D Mario art style that they go for, you know, colors, outlines, and all that.
Yeah.
And it's just the bit where they had Elvira on the show.
Yes, I was going to say, didn't they... I couldn't remember... Like, obviously I've seen the bits with Elvira, but, like... Wasn't there an episode where they had someone like Liza Minnelli as well?
Yeah. Yeah, it's...
Or am I completely dreaming that?
Yeah.
I remember seeing it and being like, this has to be a Photoshop.
Yeah, but it's like it's the sort of thing where it even reminded me, like what prompted me to like share that art with others was when just talking about Mario games with people in the on a Discord I'm in, and one guy jokingly brought up, yeah, but when is Milli Vanilli gonna get into the Mario universe? And I'm
they're
like,
in. They're in.
Yeah, and I was like, only after they make it canon that Elvira hangs out with the Mario brothers. And then I posted that picture, and everyone approved.
See, the funny thing is, we got the Mario and Link cartoons, but we didn't get the live-action segments over here.
Oh,
So,
that's a shame.
So I didn't find out about any of this shit until, like, 2000, 2001, when I actually got online at home for the first time.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, so people put up these old cartoons for download. Takes about a day to get one episode, but I've got nothing else going on.
Yeah.
So I'm basically nostalgia binging, for lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm.
And I see all the stuff of, like I said, this guy who looks like Ron Jeremy dressed like Mario. I'm like, the fuck is this? And I go down this fucking rabbit hole. This shit is insane.
Yep.
And I had no idea about any of this stuff. And I'm not sure if I should be complaining because it was a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I definitely think just looking at like the screenshot of when Elvira was on the live action sections and combined with like the joke someone made of like, when is Milli Vanilli going to get into the Mario universe? And I'm just like, those live action sections really were just an excuse for the production staff to like get in contact with people that Captain Lou Albano knew and just have them on the show just for fun.
That, or I imagine in the case of Elvira, more than a few people knew who she was and were like, I think we could get her on, because, it's Elvira.
Yeah.
Like, why are we on television if not to try and get with Elvira?
Yeah. Like, that's just one of the best things you could do.
I mean, it would be my entire reason for being on TV in the 80s, and the 90s, and today.
For sure.
Still got it. So,
we're going on to Custom Robo V2. Just messing around a bit with free battle because there is a story mode, but it's a lot of Japanese text, and it wouldn't really be, like... it'd be very hard to parse, obviously. There's technically English translations, at least I think for the first custom Robo, where, like, you could, like, go on CD Romance or something, and you could find, like, a pre-patched ROM of the first game.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain at least one or two of the games have been translated.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'll just go with default for now.
Yeah, the original and custom Robo Arena are... Oh, and, of course, the GameCube one are the only ones that receive translations so far, official or otherwise.
Yeah. I did not know what I was expecting when I tried this map. I really should have expected, based on, like, the skybox or whatever, that this was absolutely just a big space skybox and, like, their approximation of, like, space mecha fights and things like that.
It's not the same without those, like, 3 sound effects from Gundam.
Yeah.
Like the explosion, the metal hit, and the beam weapon.
And I'm also... The AI is definitely kicking my ass right now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh wait, hold on. My health just reset. What the hell? Oh wait, I think I know what this might be like. Shit, no, hold on. I think because this is free battle, technically, it might be the sort of thing where, like, it's more like a training mode.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think we'll try versus if it just lets me do like a normal stage or something. Yeah, okay. Oh, but it's the fucking... Right, but because this is versus mode as well, like, it needs a second controller plugged in, so that's just kind of...
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. But it also has this mode, 2-on-2 battle, which I believe was, like, this was the thing that mainly differentiated V2 from the original. Like, first game was just 1v1 battles. This was the idea of, you know, we're on the N64, we got 4 controller ports, why don't we just let all four people play? And then they made it a team battle.
There were a lot of games in the N64 that were like, technically we can only support 2, but we've got 4 controller ports, and Nintendo will probably, you know, give us a tax break or something if we put on 2 extra players. So
yeah,
it's barely functional, but we'll do it.
Yeah, but don't ask them for the idea of a multi-tap. There's a little demo of, like, kind of how battles usually go. Obviously. Because it's, you know, it's a very simple 3D robot fighting game. You don't need to worry about camera control because it's focused on all players at all times. This thing actually goes on a while, and, like, the first game actually opens, like, the same way.
Kinda reminds me a bit of Mega Man Battle Network.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
I mean, you look at the general aesthetic of this. This is kid anime as fuck. Like, you know that this is the sort of property that would be conceived entirely for the idea of selling toys. And yet, I don't think they, like, ever did anything like, did a mass production or selling of custom Robo toys. Even though you would think they do that. Like, the concept lends itself to that.
I mean, how many toys in the 80s and 90s were there where, like, you buy a base figure and then you buy weapon packs or accessory packs for pocket money price?
Yeah.
Like, this would be perfect for that kind of thing.
Yeah. It's like they had an idea that was very solid for, like, for, you know, what was popular at the time. I should also note that, like, if we had gone through Custom Robo, the original, and done the story mode, it's like, this opening setup is, like, exactly the same, I can at least tell, because it was, like, the idea was we were dreaming of a Custom Robo battle, and then, we press A to skip that, and it cuts to us, like, falling out of our bed. like I said, this was a sequel they pumped out in literally within a year after the first one, because they were like, we can iterate on this.
Yeah, again, just like the Mega Man Battle Network games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
because each of those was like, what, 12 to 14 months after the previous one.
Yeah, but then again, it being part of the overall Mega Man series, it's like no surprise they would do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, good job, Inafune. So there we go. We got us our mom over there just gave us our first custom robo now that we are apparently old enough because this is treated like Pokemon. You have to
How old are
be
you,
a,
kid?
you have to be a certain
How
amount
old
of
are you,
years
kid?
old in order to have your own like pocket robot that you can use for like challenging other players in I don't know what for actually. Money matches? I don't know. That's probably bad to encourage at such a young age.
Yeah, it's literally like, how old are you, kid? 9? Congratulations, you're old enough. Here's a tank.
Yeah. I'll at least see like how quickly I can how quickly this game will try and like just throw me into a match to kind of get me used to it. And oh god, look at the teeth on that kid.
Oh, wow. That boy.
It's, see,
He is an orthodontist's greatest dream and worst nightmare.
did Iyami have a kid? Like, did that fucking, like, French-obsessed fuckhead from Mr. Osamatsu have a kid somewhere, and this is what popped out?
Like, I know this is Japanese, but that feels like a racist slur against the Japanese. Can you cell phone like that legally?
Yeah. God, speaking of kids anime and just, like, this whole vibe it's going for, that actually reminds me, I need to get back to, like, watching, like, this anime that I've been going through, because it's like, we both know Gao Gaigar. We both love it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Naturally.
We also know that it is part of a much larger series that went throughout the 90s called the Brave series.
Yep.
I decided that I wanted to go back through like all the other Brave series prior to Gao Gaigar just to kind of get a sense for like how the thing changed and evolved over time in order to reach the perfect finalized form that it did in '97. And
Yeah.
I've been watching the first series, Brave X Kaiser, and it's real fascinating for sure. It's like
Yeah.
like the best way to describe it really is just if like you look at what the history behind like how the Brave series started, and it was essentially Takara wanting to do their own separate a new line of transforming robot toys that was not related to Transformers because they got tired of dealing with like their overseas business partners, you know, Hasbro and whatnot.
Yeah, Hasbro, if you're familiar with the dealings behind the scenes, Hasbro at one point basically went behind Takara's back in order to get additional models from other companies, which nearly brought down the Transformers brand as a whole. I don't know if they were ever able to, like, if that went through before they were caught, or if they were caught and, you know, like, because that happened towards the end of the G1 stuff.
Yeah.
When the line was coming to its end anyway.
Mhm.
So, you know, things kind of parted, they were in the process of parting anyway. But yeah, that nearly brought Transformers to a premature end. And if it had, it's hard to tell if it would have ever come back, because Takara still owns the rights to a lot of those robots.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, it makes sense. A lot of those G1 Transformers were literally designed by Shoji Kawamori. It's like, you cannot deny that, like, the series' entire origins is still rooted in, like, being Japanese. As all things mecha, really, because that's kind of how it goes.
Of course, you know, the original Jetfire is literally a Valkyrie.
Absolutely. So then you go from that of deal falling apart, and then Takara just going to Sunrise and being like, "Hey, we're gonna make our own toys. Could you make some animes that like help tie in with that?" And the result is, you watch it and you go, "Oh my god, this is just Transformers." You can see how some things are obviously changed up, but the idea where it's like the main robots, they technically don't start as robots. They're more like metaphysical beings that possess inanimate objects that become robots. which is then the justification for how the good guys are disguised as, like, everyday vehicles, and the bad guys, rather than being disguised as military vehicles, which is the whole deal with Decepticons, it's like if the Dinobots became the bad guys, but also still had the collective intelligence of the Dinobots to begin with.
Kind of reminds me of Robots in Disguise, the first anime that actually made it over to the West.
Yeah.
Where a lot of the characters were complete idiots, but were also really good at blowing shit up.
Yeah.
That's the conflict until Megatron shows up.
Yeah. And so, like, the whole idea is that, like, you have the good guys, which are the Kaisers, they're intergalactic police, and are obviously trying to disguise themselves so that they don't, like, cause too many problems for, like, the humans as they try and stop the bad guys, known as the Geisters, and are essentially space pirates whose whole deal is whatever a thing is that, like, that people treasure, they will steal. So that's, like, the whole crux of each episode's plot, and how it changes to, like, the Geisters are stealing this thing because it's very valuable in this particular instance. And obviously it's portrayed in a way that it's like, yeah, obviously it's a kid's anime. It's meant for, like real young kids to be able to even grasp these concepts. But it still manages to be hype at times, and it's just so silly sometimes, even looking at it, where it's like, with the Geisters in particular, they really are just, like, the dopiest fucking versions of, like, Decepticons you could want. Because imagine a bunch of Dinobots hanging out in a subterranean magma cavern, watching stuff that is happening on the surface through, like, a cavern-embedded giant CRT TV. And just wasting no time just watching on there until their leader basically sends them their new mission to go steal something. And then they do it, and then inevitably fuck up because the Kaisers come around and then beat them. You have all your traditional, like, power-up and, like, combination sequences and whatnot. There's, like, a pair of robots that are Shinkansen line, trains, and they are the proto version of symmetrical docking.
I'm pretty sure there's a bullet train in every Brave series.
Yeah.
At some point or another, either as a character or as part of a bigger mech. Like, whoever worked on that series really loved the Shinkansen.
Probably because they also knew that kids growing up, there's a lot of them that would love trains.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Trains have always been popular in Japan.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing.
And I think obviously the biggest, even with all the similarities and way they diverge, I think obviously the biggest difference you look at X Kaiser compared to all the other Transformers isms is that it is very focused as well on the dynamic of the main robot character and the young human boy, because the main character, X Kaiser, he possesses their family car. He is now their car and has to ask that, like, the kid keeps his identity secret while also helping him out wherever he can, if he sees anything suspicious, like, with, like, what the Geisters are up to. And it's the sort of thing where it's, like, looking at it, as well as all the other times in later Transformers series where they have human characters, like kids or teenagers who are friends with the Autobots, it's like, the more I see all these other instances, and also realizing how some of them are, like, done pretty well, it just makes me laugh even more at, like, the Transformers fans I've, like, talked with in the past who've always been, like, G1 is the best because it has the least to do with any on-screen humans. Like, yeah, there were, like, the Witwickies, but they were, like, so out of the way in a lot of the episodes. But it's like,
yeah,
you guys really are not understanding the difference between, like, a concept done poorly and a concept being bad on its face, because all you've seen are stuff like Armada where it's just done bad.
Yeah. When it comes to stuff like that, I'm a firm believer that there's no bad concepts, just poor executions.
Yeah.
Because, like, I've seen some really, really dopey shit in movies and comics and books over the years, and typically it's because either someone didn't understand the concept or they had a good concept, they just didn't have the chops to pull it off.
Yeah. And I even mentioned
fine,
Armada specifically since, I will admit, that was the first Transformers series I ever saw. And it's something where it's like, I wish it was better than it was, or at the very least, I wish it was possible for me to just find, like, the non-English dub version, because it is incredibly shoddy in its production.
I mean,
Like-
Armada, one of the common things you see in a lot of Transformers media these days is Starscream essentially becoming an anti-hero.
Yeah, he
Um,
has more of a sympathetic streak to him. Like, that was one thing I absolutely remembered Armada pushing, where he's actually kind of switching sides. Like, not out of a way to,
Yeah.
like, exploit for his own game, but literally because he's kind of getting fed up with Megatron just treating him like ass. Granted, in
Yeah.
most other media, Megatron treating him like ass is kind of deserved, because he's always going on about, I should be the leader, yet he like, is barely able to show jack shit to
it
prove
should be
it.
me, Megatron. I am the only leader for the Decepticons.
Yeah. Like,
Okay, cool. Back in your pit.
yeah.
But
Meanwhile, you look at Armada,
was-
and then when he gets his special weapon unlocked, it's just two giant shoulder beam cannons that just level an entire
Yeah.
forest, and it's like, holy hell, this character might actually be badass. It was before I knew about how he was in the rest of the overall series to go, but wait, no, this guy's a total chump.
Yeah, but over the last 10 or 15 years or so, you'll see a lot of stuff with Starscream where he starts off just being a, complete backstabbing coward, and then eventually goes, you know what? If Megatron keeps leading us, we're all gonna die. And it was Armada that started that, essentially. He'd never
Yeah.
been portrayed as an anti-hero
Yeah.
until then, and it's a portrayal that's stuck so well. It's still going today.
Yeah. It's just really would have been nice if they did not feel the need to rush out that dub because they wanted to have like a new episode of the show airing for every weekday, because that's how Cartoon Network did things, as opposed to
Yeah.
once a week in Japan, and just led to all kinds of really bad voice acting and really like bad like factual errors in like statements that do not line up with what's happening on screen.
Yeah, it gets a little weird.
Yeah.
and that's before you get into the other two series,
Oh
which were
god.
just terrible.
Yeah, Energon I did not watch, aside from one episode I caught randomly, and I'm like, wow, this is even worse.
There's a really infamous bit with cars driving through space.
Oh god.
Like, for some reason, rather than having the Autobots transform into robot mode or anything like that, they are literally just driving like they were on a road. It's so fucking idiotic.
Oh. Hey, Conker.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Mm-hmm.
You doing okay?
So, we are here now at the final game we're showing off for today's grab bag. I obviously skipped over a couple. I could have shown Sin and Punishment, but like Star Fox, if I start that, I'm gonna want to keep going to the end and not stop. And that'll take too
that's
long.
pretty fair.
And then after that was Paper Mario, which, again, that's more raw playthrough material.
Yeah.
But we can at least show off a little bit of stuff with Conquer if we want. Because there's other stuff, obviously, besides the main playthrough.
And what can I do is for you is...
I got something for you.
Whoa.
Now listen closely.
That wasn't very nice, was it?
Yeah,
He goes, that wasn't very nice. What?
they Chris Seaver just recorded this imp like having different lines for like different swears that you give him.
Charming.
Yes.
Adios, amigo.
Yeah, this is a hell of a game. And I'm actually going to subvert your expectations by not going into the single player, which is what everyone remembers. We're going to the less remembered, but still crazy in-depth multiplayer suite. Because they went crazy with this.
Yeah, remember the war mode on the Xbox version?
Yeah.
Don't really know anyone that played the multiplayer on N64 though.
Yeah, it's Like, to give a context for, like, kind of what they have to offer is, like, because some of these modes are based on things that you do in the actual game. Like, Race is based off of a racing minigame that you do partway through the main game. And, like, there's Tank and Raptor, which are all based around you controlling a tank and Raptor, respectively, because you also do those in the main game. But then you have stuff that is more akin to, like, actual deathmatch. You know, we got all kinds of different stages to go with, which are actually pulled from, like, these other multiplayer modes. But the thing is that they all have their own different objectives. Deathmatch is just like it is in any other multiplayer shooter game. It's just fight dudes and to get all the points that you can. You know, you set, like, like number of lives, so radar. You can set the AI, which has some very choice words for describing their intelligence. Inbred,
Nice.
crap, normal, bastard, Einstein. I like how bastard somehow isn't the top AI level.
It really should be.
Yeah.
Because how many times have we played a game and the AI just pulls off an